What's up, fam? Welcome to Birds of a Feather live on A2DRadio.com. Brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountants. Make them yours. GibsonMayer.com. And by Specialized Physical Therapy LLC. You can find them in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, New Jersey. Also on the web at SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Our Scanzano Sports poll question coming off of a big divisional game. And what I would say was a very bright performance this week, an encouraging performance. What do you believe is Josh Adams' potential moving forward? Future star, good lead running back, complimentary running back, one-year wonder. Join us on Instagram, Periscope, Facebook, YouTube. Big week this week, guys. Giants, kind of a tale of two games, and I'm sure we're going to dig into that big time. But a much-needed win this week to keep any playoff potential alive. Particularly with Dallas going up against the New Orleans Saints this week. So, with our poll question this week, we're going to go right over to Chuck's. And you got Chuck's Chrome and Mr. Brodo over on the ones and twos. Chuck's.
What up?
What are you seeing with Josh Adams now? He took a little bit more of a load this week as far as, running duties or feature duties.
You said duty.
How did you feel, man? What did you see this weekend?
Impressed.
And where do you see him? It's a small sample size to this point, but I thought it was encouraging. Just kind of from the little small package that we've seen thus far. Where do you see Josh Adams' potential?
So, this is the second week we've had pretty much Josh Adams taking a full workload. So he took one in what it was worth against the Saints game. And then, he was primarily back there for most of the time. And then this week he had, 22 carries? So I actually went back. I haven't, I'll be honest, I've been slacking because of the Eagles and, how emotionally drained they made me. The past 2 weeks I really haven't been watching as much film on the All-22. I've been slacking, and that's my fault. That's on me. But this week I did, before the show today. Went back and watched, and I will say I am impressed. I am impressed with Josh Adams. I think that he has improved some aspects of his game, but what he does best, he's been doing very well for us, and that's running in between the tackles and going downhill. It's not running east to west; it's running north and south. If you go back and you look at all his outside runs, whether it be on toss plays or outside zones, they go for negative yards. That's not his game. But if you get him going downhill, one cut and through the hole, he is very good because he has speed, and he has what he's done better from what I saw from college is that he now shows better angles, and he shows ability to drop his hips a little bit more. He still runs a little upright most of the time, but behind the line of scrimmage, he'll learn how to drop his hips, plant his foot, and he uses that to make much better cuts now. And now you see him make people miss behind the line of scrimmage more to make some now nothing, which is more than Smallwood and Clement have done all year. And so to me, Josh Adams is showing improvement. I think his potential is that of somewhere in between a good lead running back and a complimentary guy. I don't think he'll ever be a lead guy you can depend on because he's not that versatile and multidimensional. He's not a great receiver. He's still working on pass protecting, and like I said, he's not good on outside runs. So defense is key on that. So what type of runs you can get with him in the backfield. That will always limit him. But when you're talking about someone who can be as part of a duo, that's great. That's where he can flourish the most, I believe. I think that you get in the offseason, if the Eagles can get an explosive runner to pair with him this offseason, like the guy we've been talking about for months now, Tevin Coleman, that's a perfect guy. And Brodo's over here pumping his fist because it's true. You get someone exactly like Tevin Coleman who's explosive and is great at those outside zones. Now you're talking about someone two people who complement each other very, very, very well. So that's what I think is ideal. I think he's a good duo back. You need someone to complement his style and then that's when you get him. You'll be able to get the most out of him. But for right now, he's the best that the Eagles got. So we got to make do with that, and we got to give him the most touches that we can every game because from here on out. Because honestly, he's the only running back making something out of the running game.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm kind of where you are in between. I'm going to lean more towards a complimentary back. And that's not to say that he can't be a good lead back, but the jury's still out. Now, we did show the speed that you were talking about.
Yep.
I was actually surprised a little bit by some of his quickness with his feet behind the line and being able to, elude some of those rushers that were coming in and get around some of those edges and create bigger plays.
That's his footwork and his he's worked on that, and that's his, like I said, that's him dropping his hips more and being able to, he's not explosive out of his cuts. He's not going to be like a Barry Sanders or Saquon where he's going to elude multiple defenders. But when he needs to take a certain angle, now he knows how to do that. He knows how to make a jump cut in order to get from this lane to the next lane.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that I didn't see from him in college.
Yeah, and I also I noticed that he was a lot more patient behind the line and allowing the play to develop and see where the holes are at up on the line to be able to make his to make his break. So I'm kind of in between. I agree with you to where I think he could be a really good handcuff for somebody. You mentioned a great name with Tevin Coleman. I keep saying Tevin Campbell. It's one of my favorite 80s and 90s R&B artists, and I do it every week, guys. I apologize. Tevin Coleman. God, I'll have to get that right if the Eagles get him. I might have to get a Campbell jersey just because.
My God.
No, but I'm kind of where you're at in regards to that. I like what I see, and I've been a proponent of it, and we all have, is, to me, give the guy who's earning the touches more touches. For a period there, Wendell Smallwood was running the football well, so they started giving him more of a look. But I do feel like at this point, when you start hitting where we were at, where, there's no other options at this point.
There is not.
The trade deadline's gone. There's really no other options out there. Give the kid who had showed spurts a few more touches. See what he does with that.
Mm-hmm.
Give him a few more touches. See what he does with that. Because at this point, what I've seen from Corey Clement is the same thing over and over. I haven't seen the progression this year, which works as a third back. It doesn't work as the featured back. And Smallwood's kind of been
who he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's been, a non-factor over the last few weeks. So I felt like Josh Adams was the one who has been the one slowly emerging to earn those touches. And I'm glad to see that the Eagles – and it was a tale of two halves, because in the first half – they couldn't get much going with the running game, which it's easy to game plan for a passing game when you don't have a running game that you really have to worry about.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of that in the first half. The Eagles could not get the mojo going and get the ball moving, and they looked absolutely, in my opinion, dead in the water in the first half. I mean, they looked terrible. But they came out, they made some adjustments. Josh Adams started getting more touches, breaking off a few more plays, which then resulted in opening up some of the plays in the passing game, which is what they've desperately needed. It was what they didn't have to worry about last year to get the offense moving. So I felt like it was encouraging, and I would imagine going forward, Adams will be the featured back. And listen, we say he's a good complimentary back. Maybe by the end of the year, he does start to show that there's the potential to be a lead back in this league. But I'm with you. I'm in the middle, but if I'm going one option, I got to go complimentary back now. And I think he could be a very good complimentary back in this league.
Yes.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk. The Flyers just scored, got away.
Yep. We'll be talking Flyers later, no huddle.
Yeah.
2-1. once.
2-1 Flyers. Well, very minimal.
Very minimal. That's why no huddle.
It's not our forte. We leave that to the hockey happy hour geniuses on Thursday nights. But let's talk about it. I put it as a tale of two halves. It was almost like watching two games in a lot of senses. Do we want to go offense first, or do you want to talk about the defense in the first half?
Let's talk about offense, because we're already talking about Adams. We're talking about him and his influence. So let's stay on that side of the ball.
I mean, again, Zach Ertz is there, but there really wasn't much mojo going with anybody on the field.
There really wasn't.
The offensive line to me still looks like a mess. There's too many penalties. I will say this. and maybe we disagree on it a little bit. Maybe it was me and you who disagreed on it. Maybe not. I still felt like the Kelsey hold was a ticky-tack. You see that so much around the league, and it doesn't get called. It wasn't, and it really didn't impact the play.
It did. I watched the replay again. It did. Ogletree would have tackled him.
I don't know that he would have or not, but it was really, I mean, to me, that's something that you see commonly all the time, and there's never a call for that.
I will say that, like.
Now, they did call the game very closely, though. I'll say
I
that.
thought to that, I think
early in the game,
the refs were very bad on both sides of this game.
Oh, I agree.
They were horrible.
Not just to the Eagles. There was a lot of really head-scratching calls on both sides.
OBJ was held a couple of times by LeBlanc.
The pass interference calling Alshon Jeffrey was an absolute abomination. Like, that was one of the most ridiculous things I've seen in a long. And listen, there was some Giants fans at the bar that said, "I can't believe that they called that. It was the most ridiculous thing in the world."
And then the low hit, the low hit on Wentz.
Yeah.
That
you don't make
was
that
letter
call.
of the law. You know, Michael Bennett got called against the Vikings for going low when he really didn't go low. He started at the midsection and just dropped. And then he got called, but, you know, the low hit on Carson doesn't get called. I mean, a lot of inconsistencies. It was a bad ref game on both sides.
Yeah, and it's crazy because there were inconsistencies, but yet I felt like it was very called for even a lot of the ticky-tack stuff on both ends. So a lot of flags flying around. I think one of the broadcasters, it might have been Lynch, used the reference of, they could do 2 loads of laundry with all the flags that they've thrown out there. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was about establishing the running game, which we'll talk about the second half. But I felt like you could really see that, and I don't know what it is with this team. Maybe I just coming out of the last 2 weeks after the Dallas game, and what in my opinion was a roll job. They just laid down in New Orleans. As bad as they looked in the first half, it's not like usual. I wasn't getting fired up and angry. I just sat there and watched it, and it was like,
yeah, I was the same.
I was just like, okay, I'm watching. Like, I'm just gonna watch this happen. Like, it wasn't too high, it wasn't too low. Quite a few times I did say this team stinks, but
I said it multiple.
But yeah, again, and it's still concerning to me that this team continues to come out. Whether it's take the New Orleans game out, since day one, this team comes out so slow and does not have any sense of urgency through the first quarter at the minimum. They looked terrible in the first quarter, aside from Carson's game when he came back and they scored on the first drive.
Yeah. And then Panthers game, we got up to that lead. But those are like the only two. I can think of off the top of my head where we got off to good starts.
You know, last year you saw a lot of the team came out and you could see they were fired up. They weren't too high. They were even keeled, came out, took it to business and got going. And it's almost like at times they look like they're defeated to me from jump. But at least we saw some second half adjustments. This week.
Yeah, for the offense side of the ball, like it's they talked about it in the broadcast, and it is true, and something that's been happening for the past, I'd say 2-3 weeks now. Is there's just not separation from the wide receivers. And that is on the wide receivers and their ability. But it is, to me, I place most of the blame on just the scheme. Like, we've talked about several weeks or for a while now. But not having Reich here has hurt this offensive system a lot. And the lack of creativity and play designs are really hurting this offense because alone, no one else besides Zach Ertz is going to now get constant separation. Alshon's not a separation guy. He's a 50-50 ball guy. He's a big physical target. So you're not going to consistently get separation from him. I think he's fine. That's just who he is. From Aguilar, you need to still design some type of Aguilar and Tate. This goes for both of them because Tate, he's older now and he's obviously not the same Tate as he was years ago. But he still has good ability.
Still been pretty good everywhere else, but
here. But you need to.
I'm almost worrying if this is like DeMarco Murray 2.0.
God.
You don't have the right coach in place on the coordinator. You need the right coordinator in place to maximize this guy's potential.
You need passing and route concepts that work and help Aguilar and Tate get open. It's not, when they work best out of the slot, give them like an option route. Like, why can't you throw an like what Edelman and Baldwin do, where they're like, there's constant option routes where it's like, okay, slot receiver, if you read that the slot defender has inside leverage, you go outside. If they have outside leverage, you go inside. Give them option routes. But no, that's not the design of this offense.
Why does every team in this league run a pick play but the Eagles? There was a play in the red zone in this game where they lined up two guys on the right side, and they ended up in the same fucking spot. They standing in the same spot. Why are we not running a pick play and trying to get one of them open in the corner?
Yeah, play design.
And I want to say one of them was Golden Tate. And the other, and it wasn't a missed assignment. I think they just went right to their spots.
I think I know who you're talking about. I think you know, yeah.
And we're literally sitting there like, why does every team in this league run a pick play but the Eagles?
Coordinator.
Unbelievable.
I did find this. I saw this on Sunday. So after the first quarter, obviously the Giants were up 9-0, and it was the Eagles were scoreless in the first quarter for the 5th straight game after Sunday. The 9th time in 11 games this season, and combined throughout all the games this season, they've only put up 21 points in the first quarter. When you combine all of the games,
21 points.
Pretty terrible.
Combined.
Jesus Lord, that's bad.
It's not going to get it done.
It's not going to get it done. And in the second half, like you said, Chrome, they went more towards the run. They leaned toward the run more, which freed some of the play calling up now for the passing game. And, you dialed up you had a little bit of Alshon here, and then you leaned on Ertz a lot, which thank God for Ertz. He is just so good. He is so damn good.
Broke a tackle.
And he broke a tackle. Yak!
I almost fell over when he broke that tackle.
But in my opinion, this is what's going to come down to. If the Eagles want to win this division still, and they still can, but if they want to win the division, they've got to do something to adjust their route concepts. I don't know if that's going to happen, but they've got to do something. Like, maybe this game was the resurgence that they needed for these offensive players to play a little better. They needed a little bit of juice, a little bit of oomph in their step to get some momentum going. Maybe this was it. But you still need a scheme. You still need better play calling to get these guys open, just like they did last year. Like, Doug Pearson has to get something out of his ass.
Well, listen, if I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to be optimistic, because I don't really feel like I have much of a choice at this point but to be optimistic. We played, for all intents and purposes, a bad Giants team. And, yes, we only won by 3 points. A W is a W. Not all wins are beautiful. I talk about it all the time. You go over the last however many years, how many ugly Pittsburgh Steelers wins there are. But guess what? There's a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers wins on the board over the last 10 years. But what encourages me, they came out flat the first half. But they were able to, instead of get out to a lead in the first half and then do what they do, which is play conservative, play prevent, and kind of fall into those kind of same things they've been doing. This is the first kind of comeback game that we've seen them have where they were able to battle back from behind, get the momentum going their way, get a little bit of confidence. And a lot of times it takes a game like this, whether it's a good team or a bad team, to just get your team rolling and work on some things. See what a Josh Adams can do, or it didn't work out, but see what you can run creative with Golden Tate to try to find something, some fit to where he can, going forward, be more of a pivotal part of the offense. So what I was encouraged about was this is the first time that we saw them have a little bit of fight in their belly to fight back from behind, and then by creating that momentum and opening up the passing game and having a two-way game for a quarter and a half or two quarters, the defense starts rolling then. And the defense looked much better in the second half.
Yep.
And it seemed like it started to slowly click. And it's the first time, even if it was for a quarter, that it seemed like the offense and the defense started to click at the same time.
Yeah.
All season.
And at first it didn't seem like that because we went ahead. Did we go ahead in the third or fourth quarter,
And then
the
came back.
Giants came back, and you're like, oh, here we go. They're gonna score a touchdown, and they're gonna go up by 4 again, and there goes that. But then we held them to a field goal. So
Right.
it is the first time where like they finally got both sides got in check. Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't look like the defense was gassed out because the offense couldn't stay on the field. So I'm encouraged by that, and I hope that they can look back and even look at some of the plays that were called and look back at the game film and figure out a way to kind of game plan something similar going forward to where, they can continue to roll that kind of momentum. I have to be optimistic and hope that that's going to happen because it's the only way this team's going to crawl back in this division.
Yeah.
So I was encouraged by that because I got to be honest, I didn't think this team had any fight left in them to be able to come back from a 9 or 10 or 15 or 20 point deficit, whatever it is, at any point this season. So I'm looking at that, and hopefully that'll give them an opportunity. And I think we talked earlier. So the first half wasn't a boundary half for the defense either. I think we were talking coming over the defensive backs. I have to give the defensive backs some leeway in that first half. I mean, you're running out, Chandrick Sullivan. You're running out LeBlanc. You're running out Bosby. And really, I didn't see if they made any last minute, Saturday or Sunday moves. But from what I had read was they were going in with 3 healthy defensive backs. And if they needed to pull somebody for an injury issue or whatever, they were looking at now pulling wide receiver options to be the depth on the defensive backs, which is terrible. They only had one healthy defensive back on the practice squad that I had seen as of Friday was not brought up. So I would imagine this week you might see a move because, again, we saw Sullivan go down, and I thought, oh, of course he goes down. Why not? Every other defensive back, every other cornerback on this team goes down, so why wouldn't he go down too? So, yeah, I mean, I kind of look at that, and I give them a pass because I felt like they played much better. They got much more comfortable. They got away with a couple things. Yeah. But it happened on both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, let's be real. Odell Beckham Jr. might have been interfered with 2 or 3 times on that one
he definitely was. Held, at least. Maybe not interfered, but held.
Well, he might have been held and then interfered with on that play. Let's be realistic. I felt like those guys, for kind of being thrown into the fire, performed pretty well in the second half. They did what we needed them to do, and it didn't hurt that the defensive line finally got some pressure. And Timmy Jernigan, I felt like his presence once he kind of got into the game, kind of the game speed, the speed of the game. It
felt like there was more pressure this week.
Michael Bennett again, another good game.
Michael Bennett,
always around the quarterback.
Go ahead, Chucks.
I feel like, with the adjustment was, and the article came out, the news came out, that Jenkins went to Schwartz and said at the half. And said simplify the calls because they're not getting it, and it's a great point. And you think it's kind of common sense because these guys are practice squad guys. The communication, the calls at the line they're not going to get it. And so in the second half, it looks like that's what they did. Is just simplified it and relied on their front four to get pressure. And luckily, the front four stepped up, and that made things a lot easier for those corners.
And if that is true, if that report is true that Malcolm Jenkins went to Schwartz, that tells me 2 things. For the first time this season, we've seen Schwartz not be a stubborn asshole and actually be receptive to adjusting his game plan. That's 1. 2 is that's the kind of stuff that we talked about last week, where we're not saying Malcolm Jenkins is a Brian Dawkins type of a guy, but is he a leader on the field? Does he understand not just his role as a player and a leader, but understands where everybody's supposed to be on the field? Because that's what you are. You are a field general on the defense. To understand this isn't working, listen, this is what we need to do. This is how it can help, whatever the conversation was. If he's the one that went to Schwartz and said, listen, we got to do something because this is not working. I'm telling you it's not going to work. That just shows a lot about his football IQ, his leadership, and his understanding of the guys around him.
Exactly.
And again, that just kind of fits the narrative of what we were talking about last week.
And this was right after he came up with an interception.
Yeah.
So
which was
huge.
Huge.
That they were going to score a touchdown, and pretty much put a nail in the coffin in the game. That changed everything.
And Eli became
And,
Eli.
and I'm going to read this tweet real quick before you get to the Facebook comments.
There's only a couple on there.
Yeah, Jenkins, Dave Zangaro on Twitter says, Malcolm Jenkins appreciation tweet. Since joining the Eagles in 2014, Jenkins has played 5,248 of 5,339 defensive snaps, which is 98.3% at safety, nickel corner, and linebacker, in addition to a significant role on special teams. He's one of the best and most versatile players we've ever had in the city. And again, like we said last week, with that post, saying that he's as close to Dawkins as we can get, I had a couple people comment and laugh at that, and I didn't even reply to them because it's just that's not what we're saying. The point is not saying that he's Dawkins. The point is saying appreciate the greatness that is Jenkins, because we all love Dawkins so much and we want a player like him, greatness like him at a safety position. Yeah. This is what we're getting. This appreciate it.
We're going to switch roles. I'm going to have you do the Facebook because it's doing what it did to me last week. And
give
me the first two comments and won't update the comments. It just shows me when people view. Did that to me last week, too.
Gotcha.
So I'll take over the YouTube. You do the Facebook.
Okay, so Vespi says, hey, yo, sorry to bother you at work. To answer the question, he's a complimentary back. Andy Ritter says, what's up, C-squared? Yeah, Chrome, love the shirt. That is a dope shirt.
It's my Batman Eagles shirt.
I was thinking about wearing my new Batman Eagles shirt, too. We both would have had.
That would have been fitting.
It would have been very fitting. Will Pierce says, I don't know about a star, but definitely a nice player until we get a 3-down back. Arnone says number 3, which is complimentary back. He says, what's up, boys?
What's up, Tom?
Andy Ritter says, again, I'm going to go with 3 because clearly that's the popular vote, and I trust the smart people here. And he's awesome. Michael DeAndre says, Adams is a beast. Compare his stats to Barkley. Let me know. Is he being... I don't know if he's literally trying to compare Adams to Barkley, or if he's just saying that sarcastically.
Probably a little both.
Okay. Jason Conklin says he will be a 25 a game guy. Zod T. Ginn says Adams is very solid.
That's my boy Zod. What's up, Zod?
Mike Brown says 1 for sure. Big dude.
Zod over there in Indiana now. Zod used to be from here. He moved to Indiana. What's up, Zod?
Doug Zeke says, what's up, fam?
What up, Zeke?
He said he's solid, situational, looks good. Hope he gets even better. Okay. DeAndre says college stats. I mean.
Oh, okay.
So he meant,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because I know, he had a great college.
That was well, I figured it was maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, I was like,
right. That's good, man.
Kevin Godwin,
what's up,
boy, our favorite Pats fan in the world.
Kevin was over at the
was he at the bar?
The Patriots Jets game over at MetLife.
Oh, nice.
The Patriots.
Do you think they could use Adams in addition as a Kamara / Ingram pair, or is that too high of a bar? And that's exactly what I said in the beginning of the show.
I'm going to say at this point it's too high of a bar. He's got more to show and a little more development than those guys kind of had coming into the league. But listen, I don't think there's any reason to believe that, to exclude that immediately.
I wouldn't
dismiss it immediately. But I think we're shooting a little too high on that.
If he's saying use them like the Saints use Kamara and Ingram, that's exactly I say use them as a duo. If he's saying can we get a pair and them be as good as them? No, I don't think Adams is ever going to be Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram is so good, but use them like that, like in a duo. Kevin Godwin says, I will be at the Texans game in 2 weeks. Do you think if they roll through the Skins, can they handle the red-hot Texans? That's going to be a huge test.
Depending on the weather.
Well, yeah.
Seriously.
Good point.
That Texans game's after the Rams game, correct?
It's 3 days before Christmas, I believe. 2 days before Christmas.
The Rams is first.
I'll be at that Rams game.
So, yep. We have to.
I'm sorry.
We have to sweep the division.
At least we're going to have a sweet-ass tailgate.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. DeAndrea says, oh, no, Michael Davis says, hey, is Mike Wallace coming back?
I haven't
It's gone quiet.
It's gone quiet, right?
I was hearing things for weeks, and then they've said nothing about
anybody. In
anybody.
fairness, though, it similarly happened with Jernigan, where it kind of went radio silent for about 4 or 5 weeks, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, he's coming back. They're activating to go to practice, and then he came back 2 weeks later. So doesn't rule him out. They haven't ruled him out for the season, which is encouraging to me.
I'll tell you why it went quiet. It went quiet when we signed Tate. or we traded for Tate.
Right, but he still hasn't been ruled out. Which
No,
is
no, no.
encouraging. No, I know what you're saying, though.
The
People
media-
stopped
the media
talking
puts
about it
up,
because
yeah,
of the urgency.
Because we have
Right.
wide receiver
Yeah.
again, yeah. No, I hear you. That makes sense. Bill Middlebrook
What's up, Bill?
says, let's keep it real. They made no adjustments. The Giants stopped running and gave us that one. Makes no sense, but I'll take it. I'd say that's false.
Yeah.
I really do think that they made defensive adjustments in the secondary and simplifying the calls. It's as simple as that. Now, you're not wrong that the Giants, for some reason, stopped giving the ball to Barkley.
Handing the ball to Saquon Barkley
So
is
I
an
don't
abomination.
I don't know.
but-
I don't know about that. Ralph Delavecchio says Chip Kelly for OC. God.
You're high.
Stop. Kevin Johnson says they
That must
didn't-
be L.A. Ralph over there.
That might be Lake or Crumb. Kevin Johnson says they didn't panic. That's one thing I noticed, and no turnovers. Yes. The play calling needs to be more sexy. They need to do more no huddle. They were patient under pressure. Yes, play calling needs to be more
Charles
sexy.
and
I'd say
Chrome,
that.
let me ask you a question.
What's
okay?
up?
When's the last game we didn't turn the ball over?
I don't
Before
even know.
this one,
Yes. Want me to tell you?
the Giants game.
Oh, yeah. When's the
Oh,
last
wow.
time we forced a turnover?
The Giants game.
Oh, yeah. What happened? We won.
We
How about that?
Hey!
Thank you, Giants.
Maybe when you're on the right side of the turnover battle. Oh, wait. Remember when we did that all last year and that was the key?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why we got Stat Guy Brodo over
Turnovers.
here.
Thank you.
I
New
wasn't even
York.
a stat. That was right up in the noggin. You know what I mean?
I love owning the Giants. By the way, I think the stat
Yeah.
is. I think the over record. Last 22 games, we've won 18. How crazy is that? And the all-time record for all time is now tied. How crazy is that? Because the Giants dominated that like years ago. Like the all-time record was so lopsided. But over the past several years, like 20-something years, I think it spanned, 18 of 22.
I would say probably since the McNabb
McNabb,
era
yeah.
really kind of kicked off is
Yep.
when it really, really took a shift.
I'll ask you guys another question, okay? What did this defense, Chuck, you and I talk about this every week. What didn't they do on Sunday?
What didn't they do?
Yeah. What didn't they run?
What didn't they run?
Begins with a B, ends in it's.
Blitz.
Yeah, they
They didn't blitz.
Chuck's
Oh.
like,
Oh
"It's-"
yeah. I'm like, well, I was
Oh.
thinking, yeah.
Yeah, they really
No, they
run a
didn't
lot of
blitz.
People have to recognize that Jim Schwartz, when his defensive system runs properly, it's based off of he's going to run with his four
Who's
guys,
the four guys?
and
yes.
it's supposed to cause more interceptions and turnovers because there's more guys out in the open.
exactly.
Oh, wait, look at what happened. There was an interception.
I know. I know.
I'm just telling you, people,
that
it's
is
not
something-
2000 anymore.
Yep. That is something me and you absolutely agree on. Is
And
the
we'll continue to.
please don't blitz.
Like every couple
Please.
minutes, that's fine.
Yeah, like
every twice. That's fine.
Situationally, like
Yes.
you call a blitz, but not like you can't live off of blitz in this game.
I digress.
Dion Brown says, "What's up, fellas? Poll
Dion.
question.
Dion.
I've said this back in the summer how happy I was they signed Adams, and I also said when his number gets called to be a good back for us. Is he a bona fide starter / star in this league? It's still way too premature to say yes, but it's just our opinions on this team, and I believe Josh Adams will be around for a while, along with Clement and what other running back we draft or sign or trade for in the offseason. Timing is everything. We still need a top flight running back, a number one guy. Josh is a really good 2 or 3 guy. That is a change of pace.
I'll say this:
Yes.
of anybody active on the running back core right now, I think Adams has the best chance, even over Corey Clement, to stick with this team going
100%
forward.
agree. 100%
There is
agree.
more of a role for him going forward, and in my opinion, a lot more upside than there is with Corey
With
Clement.
Corey
And we all
Clement,
know
yeah.
Wendell Smallwood is what Wendell Smallwood is.
Yes.
Here's
I 100% agree with that.
here's the one advantage I will say that Corey has over Adams. And correct me if I'm wrong. Corey can catch passes.
Yes.
Adams really doesn't do that.
Right.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
they like running backs that can do a little of both. Like I
Yes.
know they had Blunt who really didn't do that, but that's Blunt's a side option.
Yeah.
Corey has that to where
Yes.
they can use him, especially now that we're not going to. I mean, we don't have Sproles now. It
Yeah.
seems like we never will.
Never.
But going forward,
I forgot that he's on the team.
He still
speaking
is
of somebody who
coach.
went quiet, we won't. I don't know. About
Yeah, I
Sproles.
don't know.
I don't think he's going to step on the field for the rest of the
Yeah.
season.
There's
I think
one.
he collected a pretty nice paycheck for doing nothing this year.
There's one other aspect of Clement's game that he has over everyone else, and that's pass protection.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's pass protection. That's why he's still in there on passing down situations, is because of his pass protection and his passing down skills. So, but if you get a running back, a featured guy
Who can
or
do that?
who
He's
can do
expendable.
that, he's expendable.
Could I say that at least for and you're a Tevin Coleman guy, right? Like you'd be fine with that as well.
I like Tevin Campbell a little more, but I
Kevin,
like Tevin
Campbell. I'm sorry, Campbell. If next year we're starting week 1 with the 3 guys of Coleman, Corey, and Adams. I mean, that's right now
I'll take
without
that.
going crazy
I
with any
will-
other. I mean, that's really good
I would take
That
that.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
To me, that's phenomenal.
because they can all do a little bit. They can
Of
all do
everything.
something different.
Yep. That
I'd
is
love to see it, but I'm still riding out they're going to sign Ajayi back to a 1-year deal.
You are that guy.
I have a feeling.
You are that
they're
guy.
not-
I'll be upset.
I won't be upset because I like Ajayi, but I will say that I want an explosive. I want a guy, a home run hitter now. I do miss the days when we had Westbrook and McCoy, and they could take any run to the house because they were explosive. I want that back. So
Over on the YouTube, Bryce Blackwell, he says, "Yo, good win. Adams would have got drafted if he didn't get hurt. He's at least a third back in a rotation. Got to beat Washington. DeMarcus Lawrence talking out his ass about the Saints. Foster to Washington, LOL, shake my head. Wow." We talked about it when we walked in tonight into the studio. Is anybody surprised that Washington's kind of starting to go the route of the Cowboys? I mean,
You have to have an identity sooner or later.
I guess.
This is theirs.
I mean, we don't
He
know.
won't play for them. Though.
Yeah,
He won't play.
Well, not this year at least, but we'll see. I mean, there's a lot that's got to shake out in regards to that. But, I mean, they're desperate. They have to do what they have to do. Rosca says, "What's up, guys? What's up, David?" Alex, I apologize if I butcher your last name, buddy. He says, Alex Sanj says Carmen's going to hit him now. He was talking about Reuben Foster, I believe. Rosca says Ross sucked. Yeah, it did suck, man. It was really bad. But he can't wait to talk about it on Lazy Booking, which, hey, if you're a wrestling nerd, we'll be on Lazy Bookings on Thursday nights at 7:30, and you have In This Very Ring at Mondays at drops at 12. Harlem Cowboy says, "What's up, guys? Wasn't impressed with that win. The Giants should have blown the Birds out. It is, but the Giants are some. You said it. Well, A2D says a win's a win. Harlem Cowboy says it is, but the Giants gave that game away. I wouldn't say they totally gave the game away. What does fit that narrative is stopping giving Barkley the ball, which makes absolutely no sense. But
no sense.
It's tough to say the Eagles didn't make adjustments, regardless of what it is. Like we said, simplify the defensive game and run the football.
Well,
run the fucking football with the guy that's earned the touches.
We were down at one point 19-3, correct?
Correct.
So that was 16 points. So coming back, and obviously before the half we got it to 11, but coming back from a 16-point deficit takes two things. Going back to when we gave it up twice to the Titans and obviously to the Panthers, it takes their offense going dead. Our defense, it takes both sides. It takes us playing really well, which we did. We adjusted, and it takes them playing really bad, which is what happened. So it's both sides of the coin.
Yeah. You can't say they just gave it away because
we started to play.
Our defense, they made plays. Our defensive line in the second half was dominating their offensive
First
line.
time we got to the quarterback in weeks.
It was even when they didn't get sacks, you could tell the pressure was on. And that's exactly what you said, Ryan. That was we haven't seen that in a while where you can tell that the pressure is on. So that definitely made I can see why some people are in some games, in some instances, you can say, oh, the other team gave it away. But I don't qualify this game as one of those. I really don't see it because our defense and offense both made plays.
Mm-hmm.
So Bryce and Harlem Cowboy, they're just going back about the Saints game coming up.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll give Dallas is Amari Cooper looks really good.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper looks very, very good.
Rejuvenated.
And I got to give them that. I mean, I still think a first-round pick was insane to give up for the guy, but he has played very, very well. So I'll give them that. And I'm imagining with more success, he's more likely to re-sign there.
They have to. I will say this: if he turns out to be like a legit number one for them, not only for this year, because right now he is playing like that,
right,
going forward, because they're going to sign him to an extension. That extension is going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
If he continues to play like he is, the first rounder was definitely worth it. But if he doesn't live up to that contract beyond this year, that first rounder definitely was not.
Yeah,
so
it's
to be determined.
No, but if he does, I mean, listen, if you were to use that first round pick and draft a wide receiver, and he's as good as he's playing now, consistently, you weren't going to pick somebody better than Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
no, absolutely.
Yep.
But Harlem Cowboys says 31-27 Cowboys this week. Bryce says
you want to bet money on that?
Bryce says 41-24 Saints, which is probably a little more realistic because I do think the Cowboys are going to put up a hell of a lot better fight than we did.
Oh, yes, they will.
Rob Brinkman from Sports Hounds on Monday nights.
What up, Brink?
What's up, Rob? He says Josh Adams is a complimentary back until he can string together a few games like he did last Sunday. I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what else. Yeah, and they're just kind of going through their scores.
Mm-hmm. Deion Brown did say Jim Schwartz finally made adjustments like an 80-year-old person moving from the box TVs to a flat screen. Finally. Bill Middlebrook says, bottom line, they win this week and beat Dallas the following week. They only need to beat the Redskins in the final week, and it's a wrap. Dallas would have to finish 3-0. Demetrius Parker says, keep running Adams the whole season long, including the playoffs. Deion Brown says, I didn't realize the Eagles are 14-4 against the Giants since 2010. Yeah, that's crazy. Bill Middlebrook says, do you think Tate on the outside and leaving Nelson in the slot would help Tate end our game? He played outside before. I'll get back to that. Hold on. Cowturds will go on a 3-game losing streak. Saints, Eagles, and Colts in that order. Middlebrook says Ajayi will be back for another year, so he agrees with you. Deion Brown says, guys, it's time to move on from Jordan Hicks. Good player, but I feel it's time, so add a Mike linebacker the list of needs. Absolutely, you have to move on from Hicks. To the Tate and the outside and Nelson in the slot thing, they're both getting. If you see it, they're both getting reps on both.
They're interchanging.
They're interchanging. There's a lot of
which I don't
tight splits. There are a lot of tight split formations now where we're seeing if you're not sure what that is, it's when the formation pretty much enclosed together. So you have the outside wide receivers and the slot wide receivers in close to the line. This pretty much puts everyone in a slot, quote unquote, for me, in a slot position, because in the slot you play slot because you have a two-way go. You have inside or outside. When you have the outside wide receivers so close, they also have that two-way go. So essentially everyone is a slot. They played a lot of that formation in this game. So Aguilar and Tate are both getting those slot reps, and they're both getting outside reps. It's not so much, again, where they're being lined up. It's about the route concepts that they're running, and they're not. The route concepts are so basic, and they're not using creative ones and creative motions to get them in space. That's the problem.
I'm not even going to get into that. I mean, Golden Tate is a new addition to this football team. Even before Golden Tate was on this team, Nelson was supposed to be our quote-unquote slot receiver, and he has not been successful this year. We talked about it. You highlighted it last year, and I'm on the bandwagon with you. There could be potential for him to be successful on the outside. He has the speed. At this point, I don't want to overcomplicate things with Golden Tate, who, whether it's on the coaching end or on his end with the offense, there's a disconnect with getting this guy, through the playbook at a quicker pace. I would rather focus him, arguably over the last 5 or 6 years, the number 1 or 2 slot receiver in the league. I would rather have him focus and take over that role. And let's see what we have with Nelson on the outside right now. Because at this point, whether we keep Tate or not, I'm letting Nelson walk. I'm not bringing him back on this football team next year. Because I didn't see enough. And last year he had a fantastic year last year. And I think we all thought that he was going to turn the corner. I'm not saying he's regressed to what he was previously.
Uh-huh.
But I haven't seen any progression this year. And
I'm with you.
A slight regression. And listen, I know he's young and he's 24, but he's been in the league now long enough. He's had more than enough opportunities to show it here, and I'm just not seeing it. So whether you re-sign Tate or not, I'm either taking a shot with him on the outside and see what you got with that, or I'm letting him walk next year.
Yeah, I think that
we need to focus on Golden Tate as the slot receiver at this point and give Nelson a shot on the outside.
I think with Nelson, I think it's come to the point where I think he's limited. And it sucks for me to say that because I was so high on Aguilar, but this year I will say I was wrong. He's limited in the fact that his ability as a slot receiver is scheme dependent. I think we're showing that, like, he had a great year last year with Reich and the designs they had where they were able to free up space for him. But unless he has that where he can make constant plays and show off, because he has really good hands. He's a very smart route runner, but if you're not designing plays for him specifically to figure out ways to get him in space, he's not going to be able to be that one-on-one, constantly beat a defender by his athleticism alone. He's not that. So, unfortunately, I think that's his limitation, and that's why I think I agree with you, Crum. I think once his contract is done, I think you got to move on from Aguilar.
So Harlem Cowboy says, Tate's not new anymore. It's been a month. Stop it. Bird Gang says, why are Cowgirls always in Eagles chats? That's a simple answer. A, most of the Cowboy cockroaches are more fans of being Eagles haters than actual Cowboys fans because they don't talk about their team enough. They talk more about our team. That's one. But I don't mind. I mean, listen, everybody has their opinion. That's fine. And number two is if they sit in a Cowboys chat, all they're going to do is talk about everything that happened 20 years ago because nothing's been relevant in the last 20 years since 96. So that's why they come here, because at least you have something new to talk about year to year, week to week, whether it's high, low, Super Bowl champions. That's why. So that's why you have that. And we welcome them on. I love it.
I don't like Tate is not new anymore. It's been a month. Stop it. Like, stop what? Like, yeah, he's not new. What is that?
Stop
I don't understand
talking about him? Like, what do you want me to do?
I don't understand.
What do you want from me?
What point does that make? Like, oh, yeah, he's not new. We're not saying he's new. We're saying since he's not new, it's a travesty that he's not producing more. I just don't understand the point he's trying to make.
No, because I said he's a newer addition to the team than what Nelson Aguilar is. But when I went into that with his slot receiving thing, and I don't want to see them interchanging that. He's still learning the offense. So whether it's fast or it's slow, if he's not learning fast enough, simplify it and let him do what he does.
To be honest with you, Kerm, I don't even think it's about him learning the offense. I think it's about the offense learning him.
Yeah,
that sounds stupid, but it's about these coordinators.
It is. Yes.
Because I'm thinking about this the other day, and tell me if I'm wrong. So, obviously, we're not in the offices when they're making trades, obviously. But wouldn't Howie, and I'm not blaming it on Howie, I don't know who to blame because it's just such a weird situation. Wouldn't Howie go to Doug and the coordinator and say, listen, do you think he can fit? Blah, blah, blah. Look at his history. And it would usually be a yes or no. It's either yes, we can find a place for him, pursue him, or no, not the right fit, go to somebody else. Mm-hmm. It had to have been yes. So whether it was Doug or it was Grow or both or whatever, they all agreed to this. They knew exactly who he was. He's not a rookie. He's been in the league forever. So you knew exactly what you were getting. And for him to say last week, we're struggling to figure out how to implement him in this offense. Well, either, number one, you should be fired, or number two, your offense should be fired. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a great question, and that's what a lot of people are asking is, when you traded for him, shouldn't have been a discussion that,
yeah, I know.
Okay, what do you feel?
Dynamite dropping, he's old.
Who's old?
Great dynamite dropping.
Yeah, wonderful. I don't know. But that's a great question.
Right now in the Cowboys chats, they're still talking about Barry Switzer back in the day.
Probably. And his,
they were trying to get Dez back a month ago. Like, come on, you're talking about old? Shut up.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great question, and I don't know if anyone knows the answer besides that team. Mm-hmm. Is why? What was the conversation before the trade? And if everyone was on board and the coaches were like, we can do it, then what is happening? Why isn't he being implemented better? Like, I'm not putting that on Tate. Like what you said, Ryan, and what you said a week ago, where you're giving Tate the benefit of the doubt. I'm not putting that on Tate. I'm putting that on the coaches. That's the coach's fault. That's specifically Mike Groh.
He's played in a similar offense in Seattle. He knows how to play the slot, and it behooves me that the guy who's coming up with the scheme on the offensive scheme can't figure out a way to implement one of the best slot receivers in the game, knowing what you're getting going forward, and knowing that this team uses the slot receiver. It blows my mind. And I think part of it, too, is because they can't get off of having Nelson in the slot. And I think that it confuses things, and I think it's a mistake. There's not enough solid decision making. There's too much uncertainty with the offensive coordinator for my liking, and I don't like it. I'm having a major issue with it. I didn't want Mike Groh to begin with, and I'm really on we got to get rid of this guy by the end of the year.
Oh, we do.
And listen, I don't know if it's going to be Deuce for me. Whether it's successful or it's a failure. He's a guy that has been here long enough and learned from enough guys that he should have the opportunity to step in that role see what he can do. And you know what? If he fails, that's a dude that earned it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Groh hasn't done things to earn opportunities, but in my opinion, from day one, that should have been Deuce's job. And nobody knows, in my opinion, what kind of probably how Doug's mind works, because he played with him as a player and has been with him as a coach, than Deuce. It just made so much sense to me.
It did. I was screaming for Deuce to be OC.
And you're absolutely right, because he did coach with guys like Chip Kelly and Andy Reid and now Doug, and he was with Frank Reich. That I can imagine. You talk about the lack of creativity. You talk about learning from all of them. Spectrums of creativity.
Yeah.
That's Deuce.
I think that with him and what he's been through with this team, all the way from being with the Andy Reid regime, surviving the Chip Kelly regime, sticking on with Doug Peterson, being here, he absolutely deserves a shot. I will be upset if he's not the OC next year. I will say that, unless they bring in someone who has me completely sold, like where I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Unless you get a guy like that, I believe Deuce should get his opportunity. He's earned it, and he's paid his dues, and dues. And I think that it just makes too much sense.
Here's a question for you guys as well. Side one.
What's up, Sean Taylor? Welcome to the
I
chat
put in there.
bar.
Oh, great. Sean Taylor's here.
How's Ruben Foster doing?
Now, you talk about trolls we enjoy. I enjoy Sean Taylor.
Yeah, he's been doing this for years.
I love when he comes in here. He's a good dude.
Question for you guys as well with this offense. Who's the quarterback right now for us?
Carson Wentz.
Okay. It's not Nick Foles, right?
Nope.
Okay. Been wanting to ask you guys this for a while. Why are we still running the Nick Foles offense with Carson Wentz? Why are we running a gimmicky offense with a guy who's a star talent? Why are we doing that?
What do you mean by gimmicky?
The strictly RPO with a lack of, zero run game?
Mm-hmm.
The thing you implemented the first week of the playoffs because Nick Foles wasn't good enough? Mm-hmm. And ever since then, it's like, oh, wait, hey, Mike, wake up. Nick Foles isn't here anymore.
Yeah.
He's on the bench.
It's a lot of people who've been bashing Wentz, are saying, look, I've heard stuff like he's staring down one wide receiver, not going through his progressions. I've heard he's not putting up good balls, throwing accurate balls. I've seen so many off-base comments and criticisms of him. When you don't realize he's entering, honestly, with this stuff, he's entering Russell Wilson / Aaron Rodgers territory in terms of, you think about Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, the team asks and demands so much of those two quarterbacks to do everything, to do it all. Like, here you go, make something happen. And that's exactly what's happening with Wentz, is the offense is going, here you go, Wentz. Make something happen.
But we're only going to give you like 7 plays. And 5 of them only adhere to you. The other 2 are the Nick Foles offense ones.
Yeah.
It's just like, what do you do to a guy that didn't have a preseason or training camp because he didn't have a leg?
I know. Again, that's why a lot of these flaws offensively, well, and defensively too, a lot of the flaws I blame a lot of on the coaches.
Yes.
So in the chat now, we got Harlem Cowboy and Sean Taylor going
This
back
is
and
Oh, they're going back and forth?
It's one hell of a combo.
So Sean Taylor says, man, I can't wait for this Monday night beatdown. We'll get back to that. We'll talk about that later, Sean.
Yeah.
But Harlem Cowboy says, how'd your Thanksgiving taste, Sean? And Sean says, Harlem Cowboy was all right. Not as tasty as Brett Maher missed field goal earlier in the season. I love the banter.
Read
This
the-
is what I know, and I will. So I will say this, and this is, listen, he's right. This is the 11-year anniversary.
Just read what he said. Though.
I know.
Just so preposterous.
I don't mean it. I don't.
We're not laughing at. We're not laughing
No,
at
we're
that.
not laughing
but
at
just
it.
the way he
He
said.
said, he said, I died 11 years ago today.
Oh my gosh!
But
Rest
I
in
will
peace,
say,
Sean
no,
Taylor.
no, seriously,
Yeah.
Sean
Rest
Taylor.
in peace,
Sean Taylor
Sean
was a
Taylor.
great player, and if you talk about like all-time Redskins players that I
Oh, he was
respect
great.
and loved watching, Sean Taylor was definitely one of those guys. So it is the 11-year anniversary since he passed away. So rest in peace to Sean
Yeah.
Taylor.
I
Shout
wasn't
out to
laughing
him.
at his death. I was
No,
laughing
No,
at
it's
the
just
fact
the
that
way he said
the
it.
way
Sean
he
Taylor
said it.
just
yeah.
over a text.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was
man.
good.
I had to do a discount double check when I read that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
wait,
know,
what?
Yeah, rest in
Harlem,
peace.
Harlem says, I know you can tell these guys firsthand how dangerous Coop is. He's
Mhm.
okay. He's not bad.
Mm.
And Sean Taylor says, don't get cocky. It's your turn to get demolished by the Saints this week.
Oh, there you go, Sean.
My man.
Uh-huh.
Checkmate.
No, that was good stuff. Where are we at? What do we got? Like 3 minutes
minutes.
left?
Give or take, yeah.
Give or take.
Give or
Give or take.
Do you
give
have
or
anything
take.
else on the Facebook before we
On Facebook,
we hop
yeah,
over?
yeah, that's right.
We'll read a
It's
few more Facebook comments before we go exclusively over to the YouTube.
Bill Middlebrook says, "Do you guys like the over or under? Tate gets 3 touchdowns in the final 5 games. I'll take under for Tate. I until I see something.
There
more,
was,
Well-
there was
under.
another offensive coordinator I'd go over, but
I'll
Yeah.
look deeper. All right, so we look at who we're playing. The Redskins have a very good secondary.
Yeah.
So I would say probably not a great chance there.
No.
Then you go against the Cowboys, good defense.
Good defense.
Against the Rams, good defense,
No,
but
they
their
can let it
secondary is suspect.
Yes.
Houston,
Good defense.
and then Redskins. So I would take under,
Under.
which
Under,
is horrific when you go back to when we traded for him.
Yep. Bill Middlebrook says, totally agree. Tate should be in on every play. Sit Nelson and ship him after the season. Concentrate on Tate at practice. And he says, great question. Love it. Wentz has concrete shoes with no scrambling or running. All the elite teams this year have running quarterbacks. They do?
What was the question?
I don't know. I think yours about like why are we running still in our Nick Foles option, our offense.
I mean, Foles
I mean,
has
Tom
concrete
Brady-
shoes.
well, I do think the game plan has handcuffed Carson a lot, and that's aside from the fact that
Now there's
the offensive line's been so terrible that he hasn't had much time.
There's
to let
also and this sucks again one minute before, but we'll lead into it into the second half. There was also that report before the game that Wentz isn't 100%, and that could be reason why. So I don't know. We can talk about it later on, but that was reported.
So we're gonna get ready to take the break. I'll read the last comment from Sean Taylor. All right, back to the Eagles. You guys barely beat a bad Giants team. You should have been part of that conversation earlier in the show, Sean. You jumped on too damn late. Their secondary is non-existent, and our defense is far better. I mean, it's obvious, man. We're playing fucking 3rd and 4th string guys.
Listen, we finally won.
We're
It's
talking
been
about
a long time.
We're talking about suiting up wide receivers.
Yeah, we
as
won with
backups.
practice squad guys on our team too. So
But no, we'll listen. We'll get into talking about it. So if you join us on Instagram, Facebook, Periscope, we appreciate it. We're jumping over to YouTube. We got the link at the top of the video. We'll drop it in the comments section. Please make the jump. We're looking forward to talking about that. We'll go around the league. We got our Eagles Redskins preview with Sean Taylor over here, over on the YouTube. We'll also do no Huddle, where we'll talk a little bit of probably some Markelle Fultz and some Flyers and whatnot. So first half sponsors, Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountants, make them yours, GibsonMayer.com, and Specialized Physical Therapy, SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com, and our Scanzano Sports poll question about Josh Adams, which we'll talk about also on the other side. So until then, we'll see you guys in a few. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Birds of a Feather live on A2DRadio.com. Sponsored by Gibson Mayer LLC, our certified public accountants. Make them yours, GibsonMayer.com, and also by Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find them in Princeton, Cherry Hill, and Burlington, New Jersey at SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com on the web. Scanzano Sports Poll question we were discussing earlier. Where do you see Josh Adams basically in the future? Is he going to be a star running back? Is he going to be a good running back? Is he going to starting running back? Is he going to be a complimentary back? Or is it a one-year wonder? So, we are exclusively on the YouTube. We're going to continue moving on. I just got to open my YouTube app. There we go. Got a lot to talk about. We'll go around the league. We'll talk Eagles and Redskins. We'll do no huddle. We got our boy Sean Taylor in the chat. Love when Sean's in there. Your boy Scotty says, where's Tommy boy? Tommy is not on Birds of a Feather, my friend. Tommy is only on Birds of a Feather when Chucks wants to stand and yell in his face over who the greatest running back of all time for the Eagles is.
We might have to have part 2 in the offseason, by the way.
So
I think we need to have part 2 in the offseason.
Or if he's filling in for me when I'm vacationing or I'm sick in bed or whatever it is. Because Chucks pretty much never misses an episode. So it's usually me. So
I've missed like 2?
I don't know, but we'll see. I may not even make next week's because I got my holiday work party and they're making me feel bad for not going. So yeah,
peer pressure, huh?
Peer pressure, man. But back to the chat real quick. There was a couple things dropped in. Sean Taylor said, Colt McCoy is ... Anyway, I still think we have a chance this week for sure. Don't count out the real America's team residing in our nation's capital. And that was a great comment, Sean. I love it.
I like that.
And then Harlem Capo says, boys are going to shock everyone Thursday. Sean Taylor says, with crying emojis, okay, Harlem Cowboy.
Sean Taylor, I like you today. Keep this up. I like this.
And then Harlem Cowboy says,
I never really minded Sean
Gosh
Taylor.
Daniels, Cowboys head coach of the year, or next year, rather. Head
Yeah,
coach
right.
next year.
It's going to be Garrett again.
Listen,
We all know it. It's
Yeah.
going to be the clapper.
Dude, if you want Jason Garrett to not be your head coach, dude, you better hope that they don't win the division
Yeah.
this year.
Did you just call him the clapper? All right, I'm going to write this down in my notes. Clapper.
It's the truth, though. If they
No,
win the
it's not fake
division,
news.
if they win the division,
He ain't going anywhere.
he's
getting
not going
He's
anywhere.
probably getting an extension.
him, Dak, they're gonna be there for years. And to be honest, I love it.
Me too.
Can I argue?
They stick
Can
around
I
forever.
argue that them winning the division could actually put them back for years?
Yeah.
Because
That's
it's gonna-
exactly what
they're
I'm
gonna
saying.
commit to guys that stink.
It's true.
Exactly, and not gonna lead them anywhere. They're not gonna lead them anywhere.
I might just say, like, all right, Eagles, sacrifice yourself just
Yeah.
for the betterment of the next 10 years. Like, let's just, you know what? We'll play golf a
Take
little
one
earlier this year.
Take one step back
down
to
to
go like
Florida.
5
Yeah,
steps
yeah,
forward.
Yeah,
I hear you. I
Listen,
hear you.
I mean, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm bringing Amari Cooper back, and that's it. As far as Jason Garrett and Dak, I don't know that I'm giving Dak an extension.
They're going to like
I know that. Well,
They're going. To,
with
Trade
the
for
recent run
Mariota.
of success,
going
with
to.
the recent run of success that they have had, they're going to have no choice at that
they're
point.
going. They're not gonna have a choice. And Jerry Jones is too prideful. He wants
Prideful or out of touch.
To, or
whatever you wanna
same.
call it.
Yeah, both. I'd say both. I think
Jerry Jones has a little Al Davis.
He wants
geriatric
yes,
in
a
him.
little. He wants to be successful with Dak to say, "Oh, we found a franchise quarterback in the 3rd round." And it was great. He wants to be able to say that, so he's going to stick with Dak.
Harlem says,
So?
listen to Jerry's comments. Garrett's gone no matter what happens. Okay, you keep telling yourself
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Well, here's the thing: if Garrett somehow is going, which he won't be, but let's pretend it's not going to be McDaniels, because remember when McDaniels was going to take the great Colts job because of Andrew Luck, and he turned that down because obviously Robert Kraft said, "Oh, we're going to have a long-term plan with you, aka succession plan for when Belichick is gone." If he's not going to leave for Andrew Luck, Harlem Cowboy, why would he leave for Dak Prescott?
Yeah, he's not. No, he's not going.
DeFilippo, maybe. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
DeFilippo
Well,
to
I
the
think
Cowboys?
I think DeFilippo is the next head coach of the Browns. But if Cowboys may be more, attractive
I'd
than
be-
I'd be
Cleveland.
really interested to see
I'd be fine
DiFilippo
with
with the Browns and working with Baker Mayfield.
That is almost a lock in my mind.
Oh my God!
I don't-
would be really intrigued to see where that goes.
See, like, I think that DiFilippo can develop a quarterback. I don't think he can run an offense. That's the thing. That's part of the reason why,
We'll see.
as an Eagles fan, I would like to see him in the Cowboys because I don't think he can run an offense. But I don't want to see him with the Browns as a head coach because, yeah, Baker might develop, but I don't think his schemes are anything to write home about. I think that they'd be like on par with what they're at now, and I don't think there's any development in that team if he goes there.
Harlem says Dak's a 4th-round pick. He's not going to get that Kirk Cousins money. But Wentz, on the other hand, back up the truck, guys. First of all, we already know the truck's getting backed up.
I mean,
That
Yeah,
goes
gladly.
without saying. Secondly, I don't care if you were undrafted. If you come in and you make an impact like he did his rookie year,
Mhm.
and then listen, he's playing in a contract year. If they end up coming back and fighting back and winning the division, even if it is fool's gold, he's going to get paid.
Mhm.
Somebody's going to pay him. So I think you're kidding
Dak's
yourself
gonna
if
get
you don't
paid.
think that Dak's not going to get paid if
He's-
they think he's going to be the franchise quarterback.
QB money is QB money.
QB minus QB, yes, exactly.
And honestly, nowadays, a lot of times, the highest paid quarterback isn't always the best quarterback in the league. We talked about that before with Matt Stafford. It depends on when you're a free agent at the time and what teams need a quarterback.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Kirk Cousins did get some crazy money, though.
He did. What was that like? It was all fully guaranteed. It was like, I don't even remember. It came to like 27 guaranteed a year. That could be totally off, but I think it's like something around that, where it was. Oh my God, shit ton of money.
So where do you want to go around the league?
Let's see. Hold on. Let me bring up the games.
Do we want to talk about Leonard Fournette and his little scuffle that got him kicked out of
can.
the game?
Well, we can.
That was interesting.
Well, this was gonna be part of my no huddle, but we can get into it.
Well, we can
The
wait on it if
Jacksonville
you want.
Jaguars as a whole, because they
What a train wreck! They're
they-
finally benching Blake.
and they fired their offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, which, in my opinion, I feel like is. It's not that I feel like he's a great offensive coordinator, but I feel like he's paying the biggest price because of Blake Bortles. Because of Blake Bortles' limitations, he's paying the biggest price by losing his job. And it's in a way not fair because Bortles is now costing people their jobs. You want to know the reason why their offense is so repetitive? It's because Blake Bortles can't do more than a handful of plays. That's why their offense is so damn repetitive. So what do you expect Nathaniel Hackett to do when he has a quarterback who can't throw, do a lot of plays in the playbook?
And your
It's
featured
limited.
running back is out for
Is
a
out
good
for
chunk of the
yeah.
season.
So I don't.
And he'll miss another game now. coming up.
Exactly. So I think that it sucks to see Hackett get fired. He's definitely not the main reason why they were bad. Injuries were a factor, absolutely, but it's Bortles, man. Like I think everyone now is starting to see, and I think even like, Clay, our resident Jaguars fan, I would hope they're starting to see that. When months ago, even last season, when I was saying Blake Bortles is the worst starting quarterback in the league, I meant it. Like I think you start to see now when he doesn't have an elite defense to back him up all the time, that offense is severely limited because he just does not get it. There's throws that he's not able to make, and you can't do a whole lot on offense with him. So maybe everyone is finally starting to wake up and see it.
Zill Jones pops in. He says, soon as I come in, I see the shenanigans. And he says, Washington's done. Dallas, we're on y'all hips after this week. Like the confidence, brother.
Yep.
I will tell you this about the Jaguars, okay? Tom Coughlin, this offseason is going to absolutely clean house.
I hope so.
Yeah, they're going to need
Everybody.
But the thing is, if they cut Bortles, that's $15 million in dead money. Maybe they'll keep him as a backup. But I would, because of that contract extension they gave, that's a lot of dead money if they cut him.
I don't even know if you can trade him.
Yeah, who's gonna? Well, I say that now. I say who's gonna freaking take Blake Bortles? There are probably teams that would take him as a backup. So,
But here's the
maybe,
thing:
I don't
back
know.
up with that money.
with that money, you're absolutely right. Great point.
So they're stuck. They're stuck.
because they gave him that extension.
So let's say the Cowboys don't bring Dak back. Do you think that's a landing spot for Dak?
I will pray to God that happens. Because that's maybe one of the few guys to where you can get worse than Dak.
Wow.
Oh, God, he's thinking.
I don't see.
No, I'm saying do you think Dak will be a landing spot in Jacksonville?
No, I don't see.
I thought you meant like a trade.
No.
I don't see Cowboys letting him go.
No, Dak's staying.
Dak is staying.
The only
Hypothetically, though.
Okay, if hypothetically, if they
Do
were
you think
to
that's a
let him
logical spot that he can land?
No.
Well, I guess we don't know because we don't know who the offensive coordinator is going to be.
Yeah.
But he
I
does do
will
well
say-
when he has a star featured running back. He
Yes.
does play a lot better.
I would say that it would be an
And
upgrade.
he does have some wide receiving options on
I
that
wouldn't.
team.
Yeah, I wouldn't count it if. And this is hypothetical. Before anyone gets on us, this is hypothetical. Saying if the Cowboys did move on from
he's
him.
going to say what I'm about
Good
to say.
Lord, I
he's
hope
gonna
that
say
they
it too.
don't.
No, I'm not
want
gonna
Dak
say-
I
I'm
know. I
there.
think you are.
No, I'm just saying. I guess I can see Dak going to Jacksonville.
I'll
That's
give
all
you
I was gonna
another
say.
name. Oh, okay. So if hypothetically, if a report came out tomorrow and it said Jerry Jones reveals that they're not planning on extending, this is going to be the final
Right.
season for him in a Cowboy uniform. He won't leave the conference because he won't leave the division.
Washington.
New York.
Oh God.
What did you just describe, though, Crum?
No, that's true. Featured running back and number 1 wide receiver. That would be
Yeah, that would be dangerous. I mean,
They're going to need to do something about that offensive line, though.
Well, the thing is, with a bad offensive line, he can run away from it. But I get what you're saying.
All the time, though.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I get. Yeah,
They're
that's a
That's
good
the
point. I get what you're saying.
they're in desperate need of
Sure.
a quarterback.
That could be a landing spot for Blake Bortles.
As a placeholder.
Please.
I'm not even like I'm saying that straight face
Yeah,
because
I know,
with
I
this
know.
quarterback class, it's not apparently. I'm not a draft guy. At least this time of year, I'm not. Apparently, it's not great.
It's not.
So
There's
if
one guy,
oh yeah, what Greer? Is that what you're talking
Herbert,
about?
Justin
Oh,
Herbert,
Herbert.
Oregon.
Greer. What am I talking about? So to be honest, the Giants, in my opinion, are going to stay with Eli, which sounds stupid, but
Please God.
they're either going to trade for somebody or they're going to draft and then sit them kind of
Sit
like
'em
what they
for-
did
yeah.
with Kansas City,
Yeah.
where they drafted Mahomes, they traded up for him, but they had him set.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what they're going to do, just because Eli has one more year on his deal.
And he's Eli, and they're devoted to him.
Oh Jesus! Did he just really say that?
You guys realize that Dak has the 3rd most wins of any quarterback since 2016. How many playoff wins and Super Bowl wins?
Well,
does
you know
he
what he's
have?
going to say though.
Oh my God.
You know what he's going to say.
What's that?
Oh, how many playoff wins does Wentz have? I'm just telling you. That's the comment.
course.
So Harlem
that's
Cowboy,
what-
don't even type it because I just said it for you.
Harlow Cowboy is the guy that still won't let it go. That he still probably believes that Dak
Zill
is better
says,
than
not
Wentz.
even, don't disrespect your defending Super Bowl champs. Y'all need to win something. Oh, he's talking about when he said earlier that they'll have the Eagles in their hip pocket.
Hey, Harlem Cowboy,
And he
did
says,
Dez catch
y'all
it?
need to win something first. Last I checked, the division's still in play, and we are still the defending champions. I mean,
Don't
you
speak
didn't
to
hear
us,
you didn't hear shit from Cowboys fans until like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden they're dominating everything.
We met
apparently.
Harlem Cowboy the week after they beat us, or the week of. the
Oh,
game.
Oh, there, of
he
course.
is.
I think it's the
Okay.
first time
Cockroaches
he
come
appeared.
out to play. They come out
and
to
then they'll
play.
scatter.
They all they'll scatter. They're gonna get
I love it,
really
though. Hey,
quiet.
listen, we appreciate it. We love when you drop in.
Yeah, I love arguing with these guys. Makes me feel so
It's
smart.
It's funny.
It does.
It's funny. It's funny. He still
But,
probably believes that Dak is a better quarterback than Wentz.
I have a question
He'll
for you
probably
guys.
believes it.
Other team around the league,
Sure.
specifically one. The consensus with the team we've had for a while, but the quarterback.
Sure.
This doesn't happen often, but this is somebody who I'm officially putting the flag in the turf and saying I am out on this man.
Mhm.
Can you guess who that is?
No, go just do it.
Matthew Stafford.
I've been out on Matthew Stafford for years, and Chuck's can vouch for that.
No, I can vouch for that. I think that. Well, I'll say this.
Matthew
He's
Stafford,
had the absolute worst year of his career. But I will say that I think part of it, no, I don't think, I know part of it is due to the new coach and the new style of play in the offense. Will he ever, I still think he's one of the more talented, like physically talented quarterbacks of this past generation. But he has been a disappointment in terms of
So was
he's
Sam
never-
Bradford
he's
supposed
never-
to be before the injury issues started hitting?
No, and that's fine. I'm not saying he was Matt Stafford is an elite player because it goes in terms of being a quarterback. It goes beyond just physical talent. And that's why I strictly said physical talent. Like his arm was, and another person like that was Jay Cutler. Never put it together. Stafford is another one who, with all the physical talent in his arm, never probably put it together.
Matthew,
And I get it. But he's having a horrible season. I will not be completely out until I see next year if he still has the type of year he is having now. I will not be completely out. But he is struggling, and it's disappointing.
Matthew Stafford is in his career, has been a very good fantasy football quarterback. But when it comes to, in my opinion, when it comes to clutch winning and pulling out games and this and that, he'll put up the gaudy numbers. But tell me how many memorable Lions wins that there have been in his tenure.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a come from behind or a 2-minute drill drive or a playoff run that they've had. How many of those have they had there? And I know he hasn't always had great defenses either to support the offense. But, man, I mean, he had some really good talent to throw the football to over the years that they should have been putting up a lot more points than they did.
I believe you. You're not wrong.
I've never been a Stafford guy. I've always just looked at him as he's a good fantasy football quarterback. But in NFL, when you look at an elite NFL quarterback, a winning quarterback, he's out of the top 15 for me.
I'm starting to look at – this is going to sound crazy, but I'm starting to look at Stafford and think – I don't think he's that far off from Dak Prescott in the sense of where Stafford is more talented.
Fuck. You got to be kidding.
Are they really going to give up this
Ottawa
again?
tied the game 3-3.
Tied the game. Jesus
How much time left? Oh, great. 6 minutes.
6:34 left in the third
This is
period.
penalty shots. I guarantee you this.
Wonderful.
We know how good we are in that.
Yeah.
That's a loss. They need everything around them to be perfect for them to have even a glimmer to play well. Just the way I don't care about the stats, because when he has the stats, it's because they're down by 2 or 3 touchdowns and they just have to just throw the ball consistently. I don't know, man. I'm just out on the guy. I've been waiting for this guy and everything to click.
That's the thing. That's the thing. There are a lot of, and I don't blame you. And don't get me wrong. When I defend Matt Stafford, I'm not saying he's elite. I never once thought he was elite. I thought he was around the top 10-ish area for quarterbacks. And a lot of the times, like when I watch Stafford, there's a lot left to be desired, but at the same time, there's a lot where it's similar in some circumstances where he's like an Aaron Rodgers, where he doesn't have quite the offensive system to help him. So I understand some of his struggles, and I don't put all of like the team's lack of success on him. It's not all on Stafford. But like I said, I think that I think for me, it all came down to that. It started for me. I was a fan of Stafford when it was years ago. Do you remember where he dislocated his shoulder late in the game, but he still came in to throw a touchdown pass and win it?
Yeah.
I always saw him as a tough guy who still like gave it his all. He's not like, I know I compared him just now to Cutler, but in terms of like toughness and leadership, he's miles ahead of Cutler because he will always play hard. I just don't think he was ever mentally able to put it together to be a winning quarterback and do what was needed to win him by himself. He always was the type of quarterback who's a top 10 who needs a great team around him in order to lead them to a victory. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so all those years of that, I'm not going to completely bail on him and say, oh, he's done after just this first year.
Harlem says, I really believe Dak is better than Wentz and will have a longer, healthier career. We won the division in 2016, Zill. Zill says, what are you smoking that you keep coming on here saying Wentz's name in the same sentence as that bum? You're crazy. I'm convinced now. Harlem says, Zill, look up the last time a Super Bowl champ lost by 41 points. Zill says, yeah, the Super Bowl champs. You're right. When's the last time y'all competed for a Super Bowl? Better yet, when's the last time y'all were in the NFC Championship game? How many playoff wins?
That's a great question.
Great question.
Great question.
Yeah. I've just...
Oh, here's my thing. This is my response to that. And this may even be a knock on us because I get heat for saying this all the time. But anytime somebody brings up, well, I just want to win the division or do this and that. I watch professional sports to watch my team win a championship, and if you don't win a championship, it's a failure to a season for me. Anything that I do, I want to be the best at it, whether it's in my personal life or when I watch teams. So it might be a knock on the Eagles of the fact that I'm going to say that until now, they didn't win. I looked at every season pretty much as a failure, or maybe it was a stepping stone to get to this. But I always look at every season when any of my teams don't win as a failure. So take into account that I'm looking at that as a failure. When your team can't even fucking win a playoff game, that's like the ultimate. Like, to me, winning a division championship doesn't mean anything if you can't even win a playoff game. And how many Cowboys playoff games have they won since they won their last Super Bowl? We need to look that up.
One?
I don't know off the top of my head. Is it one, right?
Yeah, one. I believe. 1 or 2?
Yeah.
Well, since 2000, it's 1.
Yeah.
Since
Nick Foles won 3 last year. So
yeah.
You could take that and you can sit on that for a little while.
I stopped. Is this
Yeah, sweepstakes.
Go.
I'm sorry. I tried to time it. He says, "What's up, you bleeping studs?" He literally says bleeping.
What up?
What up, sweepstakes?
He says, "Great work like usual. Cowboys are never moving on from Dak. No backup options, limited, etc. But I do see the Giants maybe trading for Flacco since the draft class sucks.
Yeah.
But it's beyond obvious Eli is done. They can't win. They can't, with a straight face, run him out there next year. They are loaded with offensive weapons to waste another year." And he's typing, so he's got more coming.
That's a great
Sweeps,
point.
but like, with how devoted New York is, I wouldn't put it past them to have Eli as a starter next year, which I'm all for. And I'm not saying he should be the starter. I'm saying it's New York. It's the Giants. They love Eli Manning. So. And
I think he's talking about Stafford. He says he's still top 15 quarterback, but he's buddies with Kershaw, which means he's going to choke. I think he's talking about Stafford.
And if anybody knows about Kershaw chokes, sweeps, it's Cardinal Nation, buddy.
That was a good one.
Own his ass. So I'm with Sweeps. I agree with him.
Sweeps, let me ask you this while we have you. You think there's any shot that if Prescott leaves the Cowboys, he can end up in New York?
By the way, I'm going to call it out because he retracted the statement, but I'm still going to call it because it's the typical Cowboys statement. He was asked Zill said, "How many playoff wins?" ? Which I asked. "How old are you? Have you ever seen this team do anything? If you did, you're probably 40-ish. Whatever. Not going to worry about that." But the typical Cowboy answer, "I saw the championships in the 90s. Great! Tell me how that's relevant to anything today. What the fuck have you done since the 90s? Since Barry fucking Switzer and Emmitt Smith, and who I will always say, and I actually respect Emmitt Smith, and fucking Troy Aikman, and Deion Sanders, and Michael Irvin,
yep.
And whoever, I can't even off the top of my head. Tell me what you've done since then. Nothing.
Nada.
The Quincy Carters out there, the fucking Drew Hensons out there, the Drew Bledsoes. Tell me how great of an organization that the Cowboys have been since the 90s. Because I can tell you right now, we talked about it last week. We said, are the Eagles going to go back to being a bad organization? Here's what I'll tell you. The Eagles haven't been a bad organization in the 2000s because they've always done things to try to be better. They've never had to rebuild. They haven't thrown out the fucking Quincy Carters of the world. The best thing they had since then was Tony Romo, and you talk about a guy that wasn't clutch and couldn't get over the hump. So tell me what you've done since then. Absolutely nothing.
Senators just went up by 1.
Ah!
But great, wonderful.
Look at this question, by the way.
Yeah, he says, "Can I ask who's playing better this year, Wentz or Dak?"
Wentz.
If you know what you're talking about,
it's Wentz. If you want to talk statistics,
because if you want to talk, you want to
talk numbers, talk Wentz.
You want to talk about just like maybe the last 2 games? Okay, Dak maybe, but let's go back to the Eagles.
Dak
Cowboys
did nothing
game.
until the last.
Let's
2
go
games.
back to the Eagles Cowboys game. Dak should have had so many interceptions and missed so many wide open people. It's not QB evaluations isn't just about like wins or losses. If you are one of those people that just determine quarterback success off of wins and losses, then I have nothing left to say to you because you don't know jack squat about what you're talking about. You like anyone to me, this is one of the last times I'm ever going to respond
Carson
to a Cowboys
Palmer
fan
won a lot of
that,
games in his career.
that honestly believes that Dak is better than Wentz. This is one of the last times I ever do it because it's old and tired and there's no argument anymore. But I'll say it because you're on here. What I'll say is,
this is the
if you
first
honestly
Cowboys
believe,
fan I've heard make the
if
argument
you
still
honestly
that Dak
believe
is better than Wentz.
that Dak is better than Wentz,
in the last 3 years.
then I will say this to you.
2 years.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And go learn something when it comes to QB play. Seriously, go learn something. Because it wasn't that long ago this season that Dak couldn't hit the broadside of the barn. He couldn't hit anyone wide open. Like, nothing. He does not see the field well, and he crumbles under pressure. So don't give you guys have been playing well the last 2 games. Great, wonderful. That doesn't mean the whole season. If you know what you're talking about, anything
Clearly.
about what you're talking about when it comes to QB play in the NFL, if you ask any football mind who's played the game, any smart football mind out there in the media, anyone who knows who's qualified to say anything about football, none of them, I guarantee you, I will put all my wedding savings on the line. None of them will ever say that Dak is better than Wentz. I guarantee you that. I bet all of my money on that. If you can find me a legit, qualified person to say that, I will give you all my wedding savings. But you're not going to find one because it's an asinine argument. Absolutely asinine argument. Wentz was voted by the players in the league top 3, the third best player in the whole league. Where was Dak? Wentz was supposed to be, he was on track before he got injured to be the MVP. Where was Dak? He hasn't even come close. He's not even the best player on his own offense. Zeke is.
I'm going to give...
So, don't give me that. Give me that. I'm done with that, the whole debate.
I don't know if I should, but I'm going to give Harlem the benefit of the doubt that this is just a troll job. Because I could tell you...
I hope so.
I have a lot of friends that are Cowboys fans and like real football Cowboys fans, not just go into chats and try to troll. And I could tell you, there isn't a single one of them, not a single one that will sit here and tell you that Dak Prescott is better than Carson Wentz.
No one.
And that's not me. That's not me being an Eagles homer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm telling you, I could have them sit here on the air and tell you that argument. There's some things that you've brought up that I'll give you some valid points on some things, but that's the most asinine argument that you could possibly make.
Yeah. He says Dak is best up pressure. Look it up. Wentz thinks up pressure. I don't know what is up pressure. What is up pressure? What do you get it right? What is up pressure?
When he's under pressure or when he's pressured by the defense?
I don't know.
I have a headache now.
Well, that was fun. So we're past that. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks. We're going to move on from the Cowboys nonsense, and I actually had a lot of fun with that. I appreciate you jumping in. I don't know if you guys did, but I have fun with that stuff.
I have a headache.
No, maybe a little bit, but getting out of that kind of crazy stuff now. Let's jump in. Let's preview the game coming up. Charles, what do you have for the keys to the game this week?
I think that this is. I really hope that. I really hope that we get someone in the secondary back. We could really use them, but I think that it's going to be about the defense and them. It's going to be about the defense and that front four continuing their dominance again because the Redskins are still hurting up on their own line. If they can make life miserable for Colt McCoy, that's going to be huge. Now, if Alex Smith was still in the game, I'd say, okay, our secondary isn't as much as of a concern for this reason, because Alex Smith, as we all know, is captain check down. Mm-hmm. He throws it underneath, and that's all he does. He settles for the check downs. But with Colt McCoy in there, and I'm not going to say that he's a better overall quarterback, Alex Smith. I'm not going to disrespect him like that. But in terms of scheme and how they play and play style, having at least one of our corners back is going to be big because Colt McCoy will take his chances. He will throw it down the field. So you need our corners to be able to play discipline and be able to defend their wide receivers down the field, which wouldn't have been as much of a worry. So I think that you have to consider that Colt McCoy isn't, he is a backup quarterback, but he can still hit deep passes.
Listen, he's a veteran guy. He came from a winning college program. He's a veteran guy now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's one of the better backups in the league.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think it was a huge blow for him to have to step in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now you're looking at Mark Sanchez as your backup. But no, I mean, for me, yeah. I mean, everything you said as far as the defense, the offense, they have a very good secondary on this team. So if we're not getting anything going on the running game, that's definitely going to be a very, very difficult mountain to overcome. So we have to figure out ways to get the running game going. I think continue to simplify the defense on the secondary, and hopefully that'll open up the passing game as far as if we can get Josh Adams going and break off a couple of runs. It's pretty simple for me. We basically just have to carry over the momentum and kind of the strategy that we had, the game plan that we had that second half of the Giants game.
Yeah.
So, do you want to do predictions? We don't usually do a prediction on this show.
We don't have to.
Nah, I leave that to the smart guys
we
over.
We don't have to. I think on offense it is what it is. Just keep running. Yeah. I mean, they have Adrian Peterson, but he doesn't really scare me at this point. I think you're starting to see him wear down.
Well,
in the past weeks, he's started to see him wear down, which is what we talked about.
And that was what we talked about starting the season. I mean, listen, AP has had a very good year, much better than anybody gave him credit for, I think, coming in. But it's a long season being the featured back, and I thought he would have been a wonderful complement with maybe somebody like a Geis, but when he's got to be that featured back, it's only a matter of time a guy at his age is going to wear down. There's a lot of tread on those tires. So we'll see. I mean, if we can contain him and he doesn't have one of those breakout games that he tends to still have, one of those spurts where he busts out, we're good. We got to worry about that. But that front four's got to do their job.
They do.
So, not to go back to this, but Sweeps did comment on a couple things we were talking about a few moments ago. He says, I don't think it's ever out of the question that Dak could land in New York, but obviously it depends on who's the coach, what system they're running.
Right.
And if and only if Jerry Jones has a better option at quarterback, will he pull that trigger? And then he says, Zeke and Amari Cooper, which I told everyone he didn't suck, are spraying perfume on Dak and making it smell and look like apple pie. No, it's true, man. I mean, some guys are products of what's around them, and there's nothing wrong with people. Like, we all agree that Dak is not very good, especially when you just look at Dak on his own.
He's like a 15 or 20.
I don't think Dak stinks.
Yeah, he doesn't stink.
No,
but
he's just.
But listen, I'm not putting Dak in the class of a Jared Goff or a Carson Wentz.
No,
has nothing to do with him being a fourth-round pick. Listen, he had an awesome rookie year, but a lot of that had to do with the offensive line. A lot of that had to do with Zeke in the year he had.
And Zeke.
Who, Zeke is still an elite back, but Zeke I don't think's really had a year since he has that year. I mean, that was insane. Maybe the year after he did too, right?
What, Zeke?
Last year? I think Zeke last year didn't have that good.
No, Zeke
2 years ago he had a monster.
Oh, 2 years
his
ago,
rookie.
yeah.
He's actually playing quite well, in my opinion. I think he's tearing it up.
He's having a pretty good year.
No, he's having a
As
good
the
year.
season's going on too, he's starting to roll a little bit more.
Yes. He's starting to get better lately.
But
yes.
you talk about the year he had his rookie year.
He was
Good Lord.
Well,
Dude, to me, Dak is not the offensive rookie of the year. Zeke is the offensive rookie of the year.
And
that was
there's a
bogus.
definite argument to have for that.
That was absolutely I got
do
pissed
think
off.
it should have been a Cowboy,
bogus.
but I think if you're going to Cowboys, I think Zeke was the torchbearer.
Absolutely,
it
should have been. It was. I was pissed off.
And it showed last year when we talked about
how important.
Because once you removed him, what a drastic difference that there was.
Trek. And it got me upset. And I know it's me getting upset over Cowboys player is kind of like a travesty, but in terms of just being a fan of football, that just goes how biased people are toward the quarterback. Is you clearly have a guy in Zeke who was the best player on that team and was the best rookie of the year, but they went with the quarterback on that team. They went with the quarterback, and that was I was pissed off. I hated that. Zeke was the rookie of the year in my eyes.
Yeah.
So. Anything else on YouTube or?
Nah,
They're still
They're-
talking Cowboys. They're
Okay,
they're
cool.
going back and forth.
Yeah, but we took a lot of the show with that. I'm not going to keep talking Cowboys.
Yeah.
No huddle.
Let's do some
Let's
no
do it.
huddle. What do you got first, Chucks?
All right, so I feel like it's a good transition, but Flyers just lost 4-3, and they were winning 3-1 going to the third. So comeback win for the Senators. And
I wish I could. I do kind of wish I saw a little bit more because I'd like to know if that was on the goaltending or the lack of experience on defense, not in front of the goaltending.
both those goals were. I mean, there was that one goal where Stolar should have kept his position. I think it was the game tying goal. Was it or no? The second goal Senators had. He didn't know where the puck was, but he should have kept his position, and he pretty much gave up an empty netter. But Hextall getting fired. It's been talked about yesterday and today, and it's pretty torn from what I've seen. And what I will say, and I know me and you, Chrome, have said our opinions, and they slightly differ. We've said our opinions on social media, but what I will say to it is, Hexy, to me, his firing, I'm a little torn on. I don't hate the move. I totally understand people's side and argument saying that he took too long, and that is absolutely that's correct. He took a long time, and there could have been moves he made to speed up the process. I questioned some of his moves. I absolutely did. There were some things he did where I was like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And he wasn't perfect. What I will say on the other side of that, though, as to why I believe it should have been Hextall fired absolutely first, and Hextall should have gotten at least a little bit more time, was because from the very, very, very beginning when he got hired, he made it absolutely transparent, just like Sam Hinkie, that he was taking the long-term approach. He had to clean up salary cap issues that Holmgren had here, which was an absolute mess, and he was going to draft players. No more signing free agents of big contracts, veterans, or anything like that. He was going to infuse the team with young talent through the draft. And if you look at our prospect pool,
Although he went out and gave a lot of money to JVR.
that was another questionable thing. But he was going to improve our prospect pool with young talent. And if you look at our prospect pool right now, our farm system, we have one of the best prospect groups in the whole league, if not the best. A lot of people say that, and I don't disagree with that. We have a lot of young talent coming up, and the gem of that is one, Carter Hart, who was in the minors. And to everyone that, it's another argument, but to everyone that's saying that he should have been, he should have been called up and been our starter this year, look at how he's doing in the minors. He's not doing well. He's not ready. He needs time, and so it's way too early to call up Carter Hart. You have other young players like Stolars, who just got the start here and he ended up losing. You have Alex Lyon. Let them play. But Carter Hart is the gem, in my opinion, of that prospect pool. To me, I would have given Hexy until Carter Hart got up. And that would have been like, okay, is Carter Hart, what are you going to build around Carter Hart in order to have a team? And if Hexy still was reluctant to make any moves to build a contender, then I would have fired him. But to me, the main problem is Hextall because of his lack of development for our young guys. And when you have the Flyers team, who still has some talent on the team, that is one moment competing with any team in the league, and then the next night they're getting blown out 6-0 to the Maple Leafs, and then it's a constant theme, that's coaching. When you have young guys like Provy and Gossespear and Nolan Patrick and Travis Konechny, who are very, very, very talented, but they're still inconsistent, that's coaching. When you are a penalty-killing coach, but you have one of the worst penalty killing units in the league, that's coaching. So to me, they fired the wrong guy. Hextall is still here, and they let the guy who had the long-term plan from the beginning, who was still trying to clean up Paul Holmgren's mess, they let him go. So to me, that's why I slightly lean towards still that it's a move I disagree with. But like I said, I don't hate it. I completely understand. And anyone who says that he took too long is not wrong. They're not wrong. I just think that firing him and not firing Hackstall, and here's the thing. The main thing is maybe he got fired because he didn't want to fire Hackstall. And sure, maybe that was a huge reason. But if that was the case, why does Hackstall still have his job when Hackstall's not here? So that's my stance on it. I just think that I'm torn on it, but I still think I would have fired Hack over Hex.
I'm surprised because of a couple of things. And I said it to you, I agree. I for sure thought they were going to give it until at least Carter Hart was ready.
Uh-huh.
And I agree. I don't think Carter Hart is ready. And even now you're still hearing people say bring him up. Especially now with what a mess everything is. The kid deserves a fresh start at a fresh time. Let the season start, whether it's next year or even the following year. I'd prefer next year.
Yeah.
Give him the benefit of the doubt. Don't throw him into a situation that he's going to be behind the
Oh,
eight
yeah.
I also agree that I'm surprised that Hackstall wasn't the first to go. And it's been a long time since a general manager has been fired mid-season. I think 2013 I read was the last
crazy.
time a general manager was fired mid-season in the NHL. It just doesn't happen very often. But here's my thing. And I know that he took the approach of, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to be great. I don't know that making the playoffs, the last 2 out of the last couple of years helped him because it did create a little more of a taste for it and a sense of urgency with the fan base. But that being said, he did do a good job as far as cleaning up a lot of the cap issues. And I do believe from going from one of the absolute worst farm systems to much improved is a lot of his credit. That being said, this team, aside from Carter Hart, in my opinion, and I talked to Brian Daly, who I know they're going to cover this on Hockey Happy Hour in depth. Definitely check it out because those guys, they know their shit. But me and Brian were talking about it, and I think he agreed with me that they were no better yesterday when they fired him than I believe that they really were from the point of when they hired him. It just didn't seem like there was enough progress and enough time. And at least with the process, you knew as long as he could stay healthy, a Joel Embiid was going to be a special talent. You knew that when Ben was healthy, Ben was going to be a special talent. We believe that Carter Hart is going to be a special talent, but we don't know that Carter Hart is going to be a special talent.
That's understandable, yeah.
There's not enough of those young pieces already in place to say, like with the Sixers, we knew it was a matter of time.
Yeah.
So you can be patient. There's still a lot of uncertainty with the guys that he drafted. There's no 100% home run guys that he's drafted. We believe that Carter Hart might be that guy, but there's not a certainty there. Not like you had with an Embiid and a Ben Simmons and some of these other guys. So when you look at it, and as far as you still have to develop, you have young guys on this team. You need veteran guys to bring these guys along. I look at this defense, and it's
putrid.
There's no veteran leadership on this defense, which in turn, to me, it hurts the development of the young defensive players you have, and it really, really sets your goaltending, whoever you have back there, in a really compromising position.
Yes. Yep.
I don't think he's made great moves in free agency. To me, he came off to me in his tenure as more of a guy who is a young talent evaluator and could build a system or a farm system. But as far as I don't want to say he's this guy, but I always felt like when the Phillies had Ed Wade's hands down absolute strength was he knew how to evaluate young talent and build a farm system to where you're stockpiled. So then but he could never do it on the pro level. He was able to draft really well, but when it came to building the team, the major league team, he had a couple of guys that he went and got, but he could never fill the right gaps to get them over the hump.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I kind of feel like Hextall was just spinning his wheels at this point. And I don't think he's the guy to get them over the hump. And that's kind of where I sat with that. So when I looked at it, I'm like, listen, whether it's Hextall or it's Hextall, I kind of feel like Hextall, the hourglass was turning over and the sand was running out anyway. And you know, you're 5 or 6 years in and you don't have any certainties yet. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Like, listen, the cap, to me, that's his biggest claim to fame. Unless Carter Hart does end up being a star, is his ability to clean up an absolutely disastrous mess with the cap. And that probably would have been Hinkies cleaning up Billy King's mess all those years if he hadn't been able to hit home runs with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I think it was the right move. I think they had to make the move. I don't know if it was at this point. Maybe I would have given him till the end of the year. But I don't think it really makes a difference either way.
Okay.
And that's just where I see it. Like, I didn't hate the move at all. I'm not torn on it. I felt like it was a matter of time unless Carter Hart came up this year and absolutely tore it up, or they let him go into next year and he tore it up immediately. I think he was done either way.
Okay.
I think he was getting the axe.
That's perfectly fine.
I think for them it's more of, you know, let's not waste any more time on this and, you know, thank you, move on. Now we still have Paul Holmgren making decisions now
which is
in the
questionable,
interim, which is questionable.
That's what was going to be like my next point is firing Hextall is one thing and I can live with it. But now what are you going to do from here on out?
Yeah.
That's going to be the other part of it is what's the next move? What's the next move now?
We'll have to see. Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm at with it. So we'll see where we go with that. For me, I guess I'll throw in for no huddle. Ryan, you want to touch on that quick?
Any thoughts on that, Hexy?
The trade. Well, do you want to touch on Hexy or?
The one thing I'll say is this, all right, and like we were talking about before, and like you already said, like I defer a lot of hockey talk to the guys on Thursday just because they do it better than anybody. So anybody who's listening, they want full in-depth stuff. Tune in at 10 on Thursday.
10 on Thursday, man. Those guys are
those are awesome. Those guys are awesome.
I'll take it a step further though. I will not look at it as a hockey perspective. I'll look at it as a sports perspective. Okay. From everything I know about sports, they did something that you just don't do. Okay. If a team who is struggling and you go to fire someone, you fire the coach first. And this is not about, Hextall was a legend. I don't care about that. Mm-hmm. There are plenty historical icons in sports who went into the front office or became a coach and sucked.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying Hextall sucked, but he wasn't perfect. So it's not about that. It's not about that at all. It's not about my hatred towards the coach because to be honest with you, I'm not the hardcore fan like Sudi is to where my hatred isn't as big as the hardcore Flyers fans. I just know, listen, from everything Matt tells me, he's not very good at his job. Okay? So when I look at this team, forget about how they've been slow. And I mean slow compared to teams ever since 2010. That's 8 years, ladies and gentlemen. They have no passion. They are dull. They are boring. That is this coach. Because what you do as an organization who has no identity, you go to the coach first. And if you remove the coach and a new coach comes in and the same problems happen, then you fire the GM. Mm-hmm. Today's press conference, which I've said about a million times, I don't look into press conferences and expect huge, glaring things. Yeah. But what was glaring to me in this press conference, and I regret watching it, was the fact that they have no idea what they're doing. They can't say that Ron Hextall put him in a great situation the day after they fired him. Because if you put him in a great situation, you don't fire him. Mm-hmm. And then they flat out deny, was this about the possibility of how you may want to move on from Hextall and you didn't want to do it? And they say, that wasn't even discussed. Either that's bull or you're even more idiotic.
Yeah.
That conversation needs to be had. And for the fact that now rumors are, they haven't even thought about firing him? Come on now.
Yeah.
I get it. Giroux, Voracek, and Simmons, they don't have a long shelf life on this team going forward. I
would've
understand
moved
that.
on. Yeah, I
yes,
would've
and
moved
that
on
was a
from
mistake
them.
by Hextall.
Yeah.
But if you were going to have a 5 to 6 year plan, you don't cut it out in year 4.5. If you wait this long, let's see what the guy is doing.
That's why I said I figured he would get till at least the end of the year.
and
This was the year. This was the year to where we would all understand, okay, first off, if I completely agree with you guys where if Carter Hart comes up and he sucks, okay, then we move.
Yes,
then we move.
yes, yeah.
See what the guy has planned. And for everyone that's comparing this to Sam Hinkie, guys, Sam Hinkie, his process, quote unquote, was 4. I get this was a little bit longer, but don't go and try and say, it worked in basketball, so work in hockey. Stop.
They're different. They're different
It's
sports.
different scenarios. This team has been irrelevant to me, someone who loved hockey. I want to be a goalie for most of my childhood.
Hey.
And now they're unwatchable.
Yeah.
They're unwatchable.
Yeah.
I was watching over here. I was blocking the computer so I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
The fact that I haven't, what did I say earlier, Chrome? I haven't talked about Flyers on a show in 3 years.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
They're
hear
tough,
you.
man.
Yeah.
It's idiotic.
It's idiotic. And you're absolutely right because what just happened now? You gave up a 2-goal lead in the third period. What's that on?
You're going to blame that on Hextall?
Yeah, that's Hextall's fault. That's Hack.
No passion, no urgency.
Well, listen, last year in the playoffs, I went on a whole big rant about what I saw from Dave Haxtell on the bench. And the team mirrored exactly him, which was absolutely nothing. Absolutely monotone, no passion. When you watch the NHL playoffs, the thing I love, and I'm not as big of an NHL fan as I used to be. I used to know every player on every team religiously. I used to play. I got out of it after the lockouts, and I kind of started getting back in.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I still watch the playoffs every year, and not just the Flyers, because the playoffs is insane.
Yeah.
And when I turn my television on and every team is fired up, hustling after every puck, making big hits, and then I watched what I saw from them, it was like watching a team during exhibition games. And then you just see him standing on the side, looking like this. That told me last year, and I went on a rant about it last year, everything I needed to see from him.
This entire organization, this entire entity of the Flyers, now that you have Gritty, that's great. Remember when we talked about, the best thing about the Flyers is their mascot? It's true.
It's true.
I'm sick and tired of the Kate Smith. I'm sick and tired of the Lauren Hart. No disrespect, but that's old school Flyers.
Yep.
For all these hardcore guys in the
man.
organization, what did we talk about before the show? You were bringing up Pronger and obviously Forsberg, and I said, oh, great. Of course it has to be former Flyers.
There is a name that I think is an interesting one to watch out for, even though he recently lost his job, Ron Francis. I think he could be a candidate for this team that I think that we could watch for. Quenneville, I've heard his name as well. I think those are 2 key guys to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
For potentially filling that spot.
To me, another thing that I and I'm sorry to bring this up again, but another thing that really I don't like about this coach, another sign, when your captain Claude Giroux has been an utter disappointment in the playoffs for the past several years, but your coach hasn't been able to do anything about it, that's a big red flag to me on the coach. It's a big red flag on Giroux himself because I defend Giroux. I love Giroux because he was great when he was young and he was an absolute stud in the playoffs. Over the past few years, that's gone completely out. He disappears in the playoffs. And if your coach doesn't do a single damn thing about it, that's also a red flag on Hack. And so I need a coach to light a fire under my captain's ass and get him to start producing in the playoffs again. I need that from my coach. I want someone who's going to get Giroux to play like the elite or borderline elite center that he is. He puts up awesome numbers. He plays great. There's hardly any two-way centers that are better than him in the league. He is up there. But when he disappears in the playoffs, that's inexcusable, and the coach is responsible for that too.
I just don't know why they fired Laviolette.
God. Yeah,
Like,
I
it makes
know.
me miss him.
My God, I miss Lavi.
Like, oh, mediocre season. Oh, bye-bye.
I used
Oh,
to
this guy sucks, and they want to keep him.
I used to love Hitchcock.
Oh,
Hitchcock
that was
was
my
great.
childhood
Yeah.
right there.
Hitchcock was great, too.
So a couple quick late comments because some of our boys jumped on late. Toot Gun Tommy says, "What's up, boys? What's up,
What's up,
Tommy?"
man?
That's how.
TTP jumps on, says, "Yo,
TTP,
Oh, I didn't even see that
where you
one.
been?
Any thoughts on Dwight Howard? Laugh my ass off.
No.
I don't care who
What
that
is he
man
doing?
sleeps. I don't care who that man sleeps with. But some of these memes have had me crying.
Yeah.
Wait, fill me in. What's the deal with Dwight Howard?
Hashtag Twitter. Just hashtag.
I'll
Okay,
fill you in
tell
off
me
the
after.
air.
Okay.
Oh, fair
Um,
conversation.
To each his own. That's my opinion. I mean, it's funny. It's not funny, but it's funny because he's right. The social media, when they have something, they run with it like crazy.
I'm just waiting for them to bring out the Superman thing where like him in the cape.
Oh God.
Like, Superman, huh?
Andy says, "Great show, guys. I'm gonna finish SmackDown."
Thanks,
See
Andy.
you, Andy. We'll talk
See
to you
ya,
soon,
Andy.
brother. TTB says, "My Eagles are flying high. Jimmy is frying MFers down the stretch. Can't complain too much."
No, it was a great day on Sunday.
So, for 2 seconds, I know we're
Yeah.
getting off. Since TTP's on
4 minutes. We have 4 minutes. We're good.
Sixers, Markelle Fultz. Do we want to talk about the rumor that was out there?
Talk about
Good.
whatever you want.
I mean, I'm not even getting into this specialist bullshit. We kind of touched on it last year. I'm done with Fultz. But it was floated out there that, and I did read its preliminary talk, so I don't think that was really
No, they've reached out.
right.
They've reached out. Yeah.
But what I read just a few minutes ago while we were talking was that it was more to open the door for future
Yes.
conversation. But you heard Markelle Fultz to the Cavaliers for Kyle Korver and a conditional draft pick.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me. Would you guys take that deal
No. But to your point,
if the pick is unconditional? If there's no limitations on it, there's no restrictions, it's not a restricted pick, does that open you up to it a little more? Because
no.
I agree. Make the point that you made to me earlier when you talked about Markel's minutes and points and production to this point.
All right, and TTP, you'll get this immediately because I think I brought this up. Oh no, I saw it this morning and I was thinking about it and I was looking at just his average points and his average minutes. Okay, and TTP, you know when I say all the time that I criticize Brett Brown as far as him babying Fultz. Obviously, Markel's acting like a baby, or his agent is, or his lawyer is, so I understand that. But the way he micromanages games with Markelle Fultz. So Markelle Fultz is averaging around 8 points in 13 minutes. If you up that to closer to 20 minutes, he's getting closer to 15 points a game on average. That's pretty damn good for a guy who is a shooter but can't shoot. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And a kid who has the yips, a kid who's coming off the bench, that's pretty damn good. He's not number one potential, but let's be honest, we'll take a guy who can just play basketball right now and that doesn't have a storyline. So that's number one. If people want to say this guy's disastrous, no, disastrous is what Lonzo Ball has been, is what what Wiggins has been. Guys who are putting up 0, 0, 0, 0 on stat lines. That's never been Fultz. He does that when he plays 3 minutes off the bench. Mm-hmm. So to your question, though, about the Korver move, I brought this up last Wednesday, and I said the team to look after is the Cavaliers because they have a bunch of guys that are bigger names. They have veterans, contracts, so on and so forth.
You mentioned Kevin Love. You could take that off the table now because
Yes.
he's hurt.
Yeah, well,
Again.
yeah. And listen, Kevin Love, on this, I will still say, I will double down on this. I read Markelle Fultz in the chat. Kevin Love is not somebody under this structure we need to play every game. We have the structure around where we don't need him every game. We just need him in the playoffs, to be honest. With Korver, the conditional pick, and Fultz, the thing you touched on, which is perfect, is it opens up conversations. The scenario I brought up last Wednesday on both shows was that I believe this will lead to a move, and I think I brought it up to you before, where it's a situation and deal surrounding a Fultz, a Muscala, and maybe a pick, not like the 2021 pick, but a pick to then go and get a few pieces off of Cleveland. Because Cleveland is going through a full overhaul. Their ownership doesn't want to win. Their players do. I mean, hell, they played Korver 7 minutes when the Cavaliers beat us. That's telling you all you need to know. Now, would I say that Korver, J.R. Smith, Hood, all these guys are the most attractive guys out there? No. But can they help off the bench? Yeah. Now, I would rather have guys like Vince Carter, Kelly Oubre, guys like that. That's not, and obviously Bradley Beal. But if you're a fan, and if you believe the Sixers are trying to get guys, him off of the books, out of Philly immediately, the Cavaliers are the move. So I think in the next week, maybe in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, you hear a couple extra guys being attached to this deal if it gets serious. Mm-hmm. Wilson Chandler is expendable. Mike Muscala is expendable. Markelle Fultz, unfortunately, is expendable. So that's the target team I look at. And
I hear you.
TTP, and he brings up a team. This is the best scenario for me. If you have to get rid of Fultz, which I don't want them to get rid of Fultz right now, but what if they did a move where they gave up, straight up, Markelle Fultz for Josh Jackson? Because Josh Jackson needs a change of scenery, and then obviously the team that Josh Jackson is on, they need point guards. I think that works.
Yeah,
that's the best scenario for me.
Yeah, it's an intriguing name. Yeah, I mean, this is what last thing I'm going to say on Fultz. All right, I was pissed off enough with this whole thing, and I don't care if he's a 19 or 20-year-old kid getting bad advice. He's still taking it. And with all this, the kid quit on his team. He got upset because he lost minutes to T.J. McConnell. He got booed at one point during a game, and he quit on his team. So now he's listening to whether it's his agent or lawyer talk or whatever it is, whatever the agent wants to be at that point in time. He quit on the team. And if I felt like there was even a little bit of a remorse about anything, he killed it for me when he put out a Snapchat of Amari Cooper making a fucking joke of his free throws. He's a crumb. He still has a little bit of value, so I'm not just going to give him away for the jock straps and used towels yet. But I'm getting there. I'm getting real close. And for all these people that sit here and continue to defend this kid and say, well, he's our guy. And no, he's not. He doesn't give a shit. He quit on your team. He quit on this team. And then he made it okay for somebody to make a mockery of him on national television.
See, I actually disagree with you on that one. I think it was him owning it. Because you have to understand. I understand what you're saying.
You want to own it? Go out and talk about your problems to the media, like a normal person does.
He's not going to though, because
he hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt to sit there and try to make a joke on Snapchat when he can't even sit in front of somebody and answer a simple question.
Well, you know that his lawyer/agent is telling.
I'm talking about way before that. He can't sit in front of the media and answer a simple question.
I'm just telling you, man. This is a kid. We have to. I
understand. I'm done listening to this. Is a kid, and he's fragile.
He's a kid. He's not even. He can't even drink.
Dude, when I was 19 years old, I was a hell of a lot more of a man than this kid is.
But you weren't picked number one overall and given millions of dollars.
But
damn it, Chrome! It would have mattered to you.
No,
stop it.
No, but I was still the king of MySpace, and I was selfie-ing.
MySpace isn't millions of dollars.
Selfie-ing with disposable cameras.
Hey, Crow, MySpace isn't a $9 million cap hit.
It might be in other people's world. I don't know. Well,
yeah,
MySpace
maybe on the Monopoly money back then.
No, listen. That's the world that you signed up to be a part of.
Yes, I understand.
So, to me, it's irrelevant. There's tons of 18 and 19-year-old kids that have come into this league and been able to handle it with grace. He has been, it's not even like he was forced. He has been coddled more than any player that I can imagine or remember in the history of the NBA. He has had every wall padded around him to protect him.
Will you at least admit that this partially goes on the organization? Because if you don't,
all
right, let me ask you this:
not at this point, not now. It did before when they were covering for his ass.
Is it
but
a
for them to be absolutely blindsided by this kid because his feelings are hurt because T.J. McConnell got minutes.
He's not going to Twitter
Get the fuck out of here.
He's not going to Twitter. He's saying, I'm off Twitter. Let me just ask you this: is it a coincidence that in consecutive years you have Embiid, who they screwed up with the recovery? Oh, my God, he's going to play. Now he's not going to play. He's going to play. Now he's not going to play. Number one. Then you have Okafor. Bust. Forget about that. Oh, by the way, they screwed up with the medical records when they're trying to transfer him to Boston. That's two. 3. Oh, Ben Simmons, you know the guy who was the clear-cut best guy in the draft? We want you to gain 50 pounds of weight in 2 months. Oh, your feet aren't going to be able to handle that, so you're out for a year. Oh, Zaire Smith? Oh, my God. We're going to get you on a nice diet regimen. Oh, you had an allergic reaction? Oh, you're out for a year.
The peanut allergy is crazy, that whole
But you understand
story.
what I'm saying? It's every damn year with this organization. So Markelle Fultz is not
But
innocent.
if there is anybody of them that has been absolutely padded and protected,
Sure.
it's him.
Absolutely.
He's had more protection from an organization than any player in the history of the NBA. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He lost the benefit of the doubt with me at this point.
And that's fine.
He
That's
screwed
fine.
and it's not even screwing the organization over. He's sticking it to his teammates. And I'll never defend a guy that quits on his team. That's one thing. If you got a gripe with your organization,
And that I agree with.
you quit on your team, you're a crumb.
That's what, my entire point, and I'll say it tomorrow at length. Markelle Fultz didn't pick Markelle Fultz. The 76ers traded up to pick Markelle Fultz. They made this bed. They're the one who created this. They're the one who changed the shot because they said, quote, it's not NBA ready, but you traded up to get him.
You're absolutely right, but I'm not one of these people who's going to continue to give this kid coddles and
No,
hugs
no,
and
no, that's
pats
over.
on the
No,
back
that's over.
and rub his back and tell him it's going to be okay, you little cutie, you. You're going to be
Like
so
I said,
good
I don't
later.
think he's ever going to
I
play
ain't
again
doing
for
it.
us.
Yeah.
It's time somebody starts holding this kid accountable.
Yeah.
Good
I
show
agree.
tonight, guys.
Real
Great
quick,
show.
I did want to answer Zill. He asked, am I getting married? Yes, I am getting married.
Well, we know it ain't my ass, so.
Not me.
I'm getting married in August. Thank you. So,
All right, guys, great show tonight. Listen, if you guys jumped in the chat, I appreciate it. TTP, Two Gun Tommy, and all you guys who were in there, our Harlem Cowboys.
Harlem Cowboy.
Is that Sweepsy?
No, it was just
Oh.
cute.
oh, I was
It
going to
cute.
say, Harlem, we
I was
better
like,
see
damn,
you
Lake
next
County.
week after
No,
the Cowboys
Sean
lose.
Taylor for his drop in earlier.
Sean
That
Taylor
was
is great
That
today.
That might have been the best contribution Sean Taylor's ever had to one of our shows.
By far.
the way.
By far.
But listen, guys, we had a great
Whoa,
time
what a
today.
change
We
up.
appreciate it. We got Eagles, Redskins this week. Enjoy that. Thank you to our sponsors, Gibson Mayer, Specialized Physical Therapy, Scanzano Sports. And what a wonderful tune to go out
Figure
to.
go with the whole coddling of Fultz.
This is.
You're ridiculous.
And it's great because emotionally I'm starting to feel so much better about myself now. But, Ryan, thank you for a great show tonight for producing. Chuck's always a pleasure, my friend.
Bro.
Guys, I'm going to Denver this week, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh,
So
very nice.
I'll see you guys Thursday. But don't forget, we got the Fix tomorrow. We got AM and the PM. Hockey Happy Hour also on Thursday. On those guys didn't start on Friday yet,
No.
right?
Couple more weeks.
Couple more weeks. We got a new show coming up. Saturday, Hooligans. Monday, Sports Hounds. Agree to disagree on Sunday as well.
And don't forget about lazy booking.
I did say that one.
You did?
I jumped it in there.
Oh, okay.
I said I'll see you guys on Thursday
Oh, okay.
for Lazy Book.
Gotcha.
Until then, guys, enjoy your week. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's get back in this divisional race.